Chapter 173. Thinking up to here, Bailey Hongzhuang's mood improved a bit. Just based on this point, raising another prodigal son was worth it. In the blink of an eye, it was time for the auction to begin. Bailey Hongzhuang tidied up a bit and headed towards Tianxiang Commerce. When the commoners saw Bailey Hongzhuang appear, their faces lit up with excitement. Right now, the most famous person in Feng Bo country was Chen Wangfei. Originally, the three most famous geniuses in the imperial city were Xianyuan Huan, Bailey Yuyan, and Li Yuyue. Therefore, everyone thought that whether it was Xianyuan Huan, Bailey Yuyan, or Li Yuyue, they were a match made in heaven. However, it was this kind of trash that was looked down upon by everyone. Now, her halo had far surpassed the original geniuses. She used facts to prove to everyone who was the real genius. Some young cultivators even treated Bailey Hongzhuang as their idol. At that time, Bailey Hongzhuang was humiliated. Now that Bailey Hongzhuang was able to do it, why can't they do it? In a short time, the young cultivators began to cultivate. They firmly believed that even trash would be able to turn over a new leaf. Moreover, they weren't real trash. When Bailey Hongzhuang arrived at Tianxiang Commerce, Xiao Zifen and Zhao Yunxi were already there. Seeing Bailey Hongzhuang, Xiao Zifen immediately smiled and walked to Bailey Hongzhuang's side. "Hongzhuang, you came." Bailey Hongzhuang nodded slightly. "You came earlier than me. We just arrived a while ago." Xiao Zifen smiled brightly. "Next month, I will be participating in the Azure Water School's exam. My father told me to come and see if there is anything I need." Bailey Hongzhuang suddenly understood. Her gaze swept over the other people in the hall. There were quite a lot of young people present. The things that appeared in the auction were better than the things in the shop. If she could find something suitable for herself, that would be the best. At the same time, everyone's eyes fell on Bailey Hongzhuang. They couldn't ignore Bailey Hongzhuang even if they wanted to. Today, Bailey Hongzhuang was still dressed in a white dress. Her ethereal temperament was unmistakable. That exquisite and impeccable face looked perfect from every angle. Just by standing there, it was already an unforgettable sight. "Look, Bailey Hongzhuang is here too." I don't know if Bailey Hongzhuang has accepted the invitation of the Kanglan School. She can refuse such a good opportunity. Her courage is really not small. In my opinion, Prince Chen is the most discerning person in the entire imperial city. I can't believe that he was able to marry such a slut. If I had known earlier, I would have gone to the general's residence to propose marriage. Hearing this person's words, everyone agreed. Bailey Hongzhuang's rise completely proved that the general's residence had eyes but failed to see. Even the imperial family wasn't any better. It was just that due to the status of the imperial family, no one dared to say it out loud. "Your Highness the Crown Prince has really suffered a big loss this time." A man laughed. "This morning, I heard that Li Yue's face also had a problem." As soon as these words came out, everyone showed a curious expression. "What problem?" Zhao Yunxi looked at Bailey Hongzhuang and Xiao Zifen with a smile. "I also heard that Li Yue's face has grown a lot. Now she can even change her name to Li Matzi, haha." Chapter 174. I was wondering why she didn't come out to meet people since she's usually so arrogant and proud like a peacock. So it's because she can't meet people. Serves her right. I've long disliked her conduct. I don't think His Highness the Crown Prince will marry a woman with a face full of pockmarks. Zhao Yunxi smiled very complacently. Li Yue's usual flamboyant appearance was too detestable. Bailey Hongzhuang's lips curled into a faint smile, but she didn't respond. "But this is His Highness the Crown Prince's second engagement. If it's cancelled again, then..." Xiao Zifen was slightly stunned. If this spread out, wouldn't His Highness the Crown Prince become a joke? If the engagement was cancelled again and he made another woman the Crown Princess, then His Highness the Crown Prince's engagement would be considered a big surprise in Feng Bo country. Speaking of this, everyone couldn't help but look at Bailey Hongzhuang and secretly sigh. His Highness the Crown Prince really suffered a big loss this time. Not long after, Xianyuan Huan also appeared at the auction. However, the moment he walked into the hall, Xianyuan Huan felt everyone's strange gazes. That usually arrogant face lost a bit of its complacency and was replaced with a bit of helplessness. He didn't get first place in the royal hunting competition, and his fiancée had this kind of problem. Before he came, he heard Imperial Father and Imperial Mother discussing whether to cancel the engagement again. A sense of helplessness emerged in his heart. He really didn't understand why he was so unlucky these days. Everything was going wrong. The people who were originally talking wantonly shut their mouths, and the bustling hall instantly quieted down. Bailey Hongzhuang sized up Tianxiang Trading Company's auction. The bright hall was spacious enough to accommodate hundreds of people. The furnishings were low-key and exquisite. One look and one could tell that the price was not low, but it didn't steal the limelight. Bailey Hongzhuang's line of sight turned and landed on the left side of the hall. That was the place where the auction items were stored. "You guys wait for me here. I'll go to the hall," Bailey Hongzhuang suddenly said. Xiao Zifen looked at Bailey Hongzhuang in surprise. "You want to sell treasures?" Bailey Hongzhuang smiled and nodded. "That's right. But if you sell treasures before the auction starts, you can only make it in time for the next auction. You won't make it in time for this auction." "It's fine, I'll go take a look first." Bailey Hongzhuang's smile was still the same. The reason she didn't accept treasures was because your treasures weren't valuable enough. If your treasures have enough value, even if they can't make it in time. Seeing Bailey Hongzhuang's Xiao Ss T. Senior. Bailey Hongzhuang raised her voice and called out again. Bang. The old man was woken up by the sound and his chin hit the table. "Io." The old man rubbed his chin and said angrily, "Who disturbed this old man's sleep?" Chapter 175. The old man was originally panting with anger, but after seeing Bailey Hongzhuang, his eyes flashed with a touch of amazement. He touched the few strands of beard on his chin and said, "What a beautiful girl! But, girl, you actually disturbed this old man's sleep. Isn't that too rude?" Bailey Hongzhuang raised her eyebrows, her eyes revealing a bit of craftiness. From the old man's expression, she could already see that he wasn't angry. "Senior, sleeping during working hours seems even more inappropriate, right?" The old man's expression changed. Cough cough, this old man only closed his eyes. "Who said I was sleeping?" "But you clearly said that I disturbed your sleep?" The old man looked around, directly ignoring Bailey Hongzhuang's words. "Girl, what do you want to sell? Let me see it, but I'm afraid it won't make it in time for today's auction." Hearing this, Bailey Hongzhuang took out a white porcelain bottle from her Qiankuan bag and placed it in front of the old man. The old man looked at the white porcelain bottle, his eyes filled with a trace of interest. Usually, this white porcelain bottle was filled with medicinal pills. Taking the white porcelain bottle, the old man opened it, and a strong medicinal fragrance filled the air. "This is a bone-cleansing pill?" The old man's face was filled with a trace of shock. Bone-cleansing pill, a second-grade medicinal pill, had the effect of cleansing the marrow. Everyone's body was filled with impurities, and the bone-cleansing pill could expel the impurities, making it easier to get close to the spirit energy and increase the speed of cultivation. Although the bone-cleansing pill's grade wasn't high, in the entire Fengbo country, there was only one alchemist who had mastered this pill's recipe. Because of this, the bone-cleansing pill was rarely seen. This time, the reward for the second place in the royal hunting competition had made many cultivators jealous. Who would have thought that this little girl in front of him would actually take out 3 bone-cleansing pills at once? He didn't even need to think. As long as he took this bone-cleansing pill to the auction, it would definitely become the highlight of the auction. Bailey Hongzhuang nodded her head lightly. "Senior has a good eye." Hearing Bailey Hongzhuang's reply, The old man's gaze towards Bailey Hongzhuang changed. Alchemists were a special existence in the Shengxian continent. Bailey Hongzhuang being able to take out medicinal pills proved that there was an alchemist behind her, and being able to take out 3 baptizing bone pills proved that there was a powerful alchemist behind her. Because of this, Bailey Hongzhuang's position in the old man's heart suddenly rose. This kind of person, you must form good karma with him. Little girl, how should I address you? The old man asked. Bailey Hongzhuang smiled. I am Bailey Hongzhuang. Hearing Bailey Hongzhuang's name, the old man's expression froze. So this little girl in front of him was the Bailey Hongzhuang who had been in the limelight recently. So it's Chen Wangfei. The old man chuckled. This old man is Su Hongyuan, you can call me Elder Su. Elder Su. Bailey Hongzhuang cupped her hands and said, I wonder if my bone-cleansing pills will be able to make it in time for this auction? Su Hongyuan nodded. Of course it will be able to make it in time. 3 bone-cleansing pills will be enough to be the highlight of the auction. Chen Wangfei, don't worry. It will definitely be able to fetch a high price. This old man will make the decision. My auction house will not take a single cent from you. Bailey Hongzhuang's clear and bright eyes flashed with a trace of surprise. She hurriedly waved her hands. That won't do. The fees that should be paid must be paid. Su Hongyuan shook his head and smiled. The addition of these 3 bone-cleansing pills will be enough to raise my Tianxiang auction house's auction to a whole new level. We will be able to attract even more people to participate in the auction. Just this point alone is enough to surpass the fees. Chapter 176. Seeing how resolute Su Hongyuan was, Bailey Hongzhuang didn't refuse anymore. Then I'll have to thank Elder Su. She understood that the most important thing for an auction was the quality of an item. In the Imperial City, although Tianxiang Auction House was the largest auction house, there were still other auction houses competing with it. In this competition, the most important thing was to see which auction house had the most valuable treasures. That would determine which auction house the next time. These 3 bone baptizing pills were enough for Tianxiang Auction House to win. Elder Su did this in order to form a good relationship with her. If Princess Chen has any other similar treasures, I hope that you can come to our Tianxiang Auction House again. Su Hongyuan smiled. Definitely. After leaving the appraisal hall, Bailey Hongzhuang pondered over Su Hongyuan's identity. 3 bone baptizing pills. The cost of the procedure wasn't small. If Su Hongyuan was just an ordinary worker, he wouldn't be able to make this decision. It seems that Elder Su's position in Tianxiang Auction House wasn't low. Bailey Hongzhuang slowly walked back to Xiao Zifan and Zhao Yunxi's side. Seeing that Bailey Hongzhuang had returned, Zhao Yunxi asked, How was it? We didn't make it in time for the auction, did we? This was the auction house's rule. After all, the auction house had already printed the items for the auction 2 days ago and sent them to those with power and influence. How could it be easy to add another item? Bailey Hongzhuang smiled. My luck was good. We made it in time. Hearing this, Zhao Yunxi and Xiao Zifan were stunned. They looked at Bailey Hongzhuang in astonishment, wondering if they had heard wrong. It seems that the items you brought out this time are very valuable. Xiao Zifan thought for a bit and understood the reason. Zhao Yunxi suddenly understood. There was indeed such a possibility, but this kind of time was rarely seen. Just as Bailey Hongzhuang and the other 2 were talking, an untimely voice interrupted their conversation. You are Bailey Hongzhuang? The clear and rude voice had a trace of disdain, as if a superior was looking down on her subordinate. Bailey Hongzhuang raised her eyebrows. She didn't seem to recognize the owner of this voice. Tilting her head, Bailey Hongzhuang looked at the woman behind her. The woman was about 17 years old. Her appearance was outstanding, but her slightly raised chin revealed her insufferably arrogant and overbearing attitude. She was dressed in a bright red outfit that was ostentatious and warm. Her entire person was exuding a lofty aura, which was quite a unique style. Just looking at that pair of apricot eyes full of contempt, Bailey Hongzhuang already had no interest in them. Daijimon! Zhao Yunxi cried out in surprise. She didn't expect to meet Daijimon here. Hearing Daijimon's name, Bailey Hongzhuang finally understood who this rude and unreasonable woman was. Bailey Hongzhuang. To Bailey was. Last year, she participated in the Azure Water School's entrance exam and successfully became a member of the school. Bailey Hongzhuang didn't expect that she would appear at the Tianxiang auction house today. Fengbo country had several generals. The most famous one was naturally Bailey Jintao. The second was Bailey Hongzhuang's father, Bailey Tianxiong. However, Bailey Hongzhuang and Bailey Hongzhuang didn't have any interactions. She didn't know why this woman suddenly looked for her. Seeing that Bailey Hongzhuang didn't reply, Bailey Hongzhuang frowned and said, "I asked if you are Bailey Hongzhuang." Chapter 177. When Daijimon came back, she heard that everyone was talking about Bailey Hongzhuang. She didn't think that the teacher would actually give Bailey Hongzhuang an invitation letter. An invitation letter, that is the highest honor of the Azure Water School's students. Every student that can get an invitation letter is an influential person in the school. However, she didn't think that Bailey Hongzhuang would actually dare to refuse the teacher's invitation. What is this? Bailey Hongzhuang, this kind of trash, should be thanking the heavens and earth for being valued by a teacher. She actually dared to refuse. Who does she think she is? She originally wanted to teach Bailey Hongzhuang a lesson, but after hearing Bailey Hongzhuang's indifferent words, Daijimon didn't know what to say. "I heard that you refused the teacher's invitation letter?" Daijimon looked at Bailey Hongzhuang with disdain. "Don't think that you are amazing just because you have a little strength. In this world, there are many people who are stronger than you." As soon as she heard Daijimon's words, Bailey Hongzhuang understood that this girl was deliberately looking for trouble. "Are you jealous?" Bailey Hongzhuang said indifferently. These three simple words poked at the pain in Daijimon's heart. Her beautiful face quickly filled with anger. "I'm jealous of you?" Daijimon did her best to suppress the anger in her heart. "In your dreams. You are just like this, what is there for me to be jealous of? Since you are not jealous, then why are you talking so much nonsense?" Bailey Hongzhuang said indifferently. Xiao Zifen and Zhao Yunxi looked at this scene and deeply admired Hongzhuang's strength. It was clear that Daijimon was here to pick a fight. If it were anyone else, they would have been infuriated by Daijimon. But Bailey Hongzhuang had this kind of ability. Not only did she not get angry, but she also made Daijimon angry. Gradually, they began to sympathize with Daijimon. After all, Bailey Yuyan had never been able to outtalk Bailey Hongzhuang. Daijimon took a deep breath. She did not understand what Bailey Hongzhuang was thinking. Why was the development of the situation completely different from what she had imagined? "You dare say that I'm talking nonsense?" Daijimon's eyes flashed with a hint of ruthlessness. "I really don't understand where your sense of superiority comes from. Why don't I dare to scold you? Who do you think you are?" Bailey Hongzhuang's deep eyes flashed with a cold light. She raised her chin slightly and smiled sarcastically. Bailey Hongzhuang never liked to provoke others, but some people just liked to look for trouble. She didn't say anything, so they really thought she was easy to bully. What kind of cat or dog wanted to bully her head? They didn't even have the qualifications to do so. Xiao Zifen and the others clearly felt the change in Bailey Hongzhuang's aura. The always approachable Bailey Hongzhuang suddenly became cold and austere. "Hee, you really think you're amazing just because you're valued by the Azure Water School? You waste, you're not my opponent." Seeing the change in Bailey Hongzhuang, Daijimon also became angry. She was a dignified student of the Azure Water School. How many people of the same generation dared to talk to her like this? Bailey Hongzhuang's phoenix eyes narrowed. "You keep calling me a waste. I want to ask, if I, who can get an invitation to the Azure Water School, is a waste, then what are you, who can't even get an invitation?" You're courting death. Chapter 178. The fiery red whip, the fiery red robes, and that extremely rude and unreasonable temper, they were a strange match. Slap! The long whip danced on the ground, making a loud and clear sound. A crack appeared on the hard ground under the long whip. It was clear to see how strong the whip was. I'll show you how powerful I am. As she spoke, Daijimon mercilessly swung her whip towards Bailey Hongzhuang's face. Everyone's expression changed when they saw this scene. No one had expected Daijimon to be so vicious. As the saying goes, hit someone but don't hit their face. Daijimon had directly attacked their face. They did not doubt that if this whip really landed on Bailey Hongzhuang's face, it would inevitably be lacerated. That peerlessly beautiful face would also be left with a terrifying scar. The corners of Daijimon's lips curled into a pleased smile. Once she had destroyed Bailey Hongzhuang's face, she would like to see if the latter could still be so arrogant. A cold light flashed across Bailey Hongzhuang's eyes. There was no enmity between her and Daijimon. However, Daijimon had wanted to destroy her face as soon as she had appeared. She was truly vicious. If people don't offend me, I won't offend them. If people offend me, I'll pay them back 100-fold. In the next moment, under the crowd's shocked gazes, Bailey Hongzhuang did not dodge the long whip. It was about to land on her face. Careful! Xiao Zifen could not help but shout. This scene had happened too suddenly. None of them had expected Daijimon to attack regardless of the location. By the time he wanted to stop her, it was already too late. Drip, drip. The sound of blood dripping onto the ground rang out. The crowd watched the scene in front of them and almost forgot to breathe. They saw Bailey Hongzhuang's left hand grabbing onto Daijimon's long whip. Fresh blood was dripping from between her fingers. However, that peerlessly beautiful face was still blooming with an enchanting smile. Without looking, everyone could imagine how deep the wound on Bailey Hongzhuang's hand was. Looking at the smile on her face, the crowd felt that it was indescribably strange. Is it fun? Bailey Hongzhuang's red lips parted slightly. Her voice was full of charm, as if she was just joking. Daijimon gulped as she looked at Bailey Hongzhuang. She didn't know why, but a sense of fear rose in her heart. She knew very well how strong her whip was. However, what was even more inconceivable to her was that her long whip had been brandished so quickly. How could Bailey Hongzhuang possibly catch her long whip? Since you like to disfigure people so much, I'll let you have a taste of being disfigured. Bailey Hongzhuang's pitch-black eyes were filled with a terrifying storm. Her body suddenly moved, and with a silver needle between her fingers, she directly slapped towards Daijimon's face. Daijimon immediately understood what Bailey Hongzhuang was trying to do. She wanted to pull back her whip and attack Bailey Hongzhuang again. However, Bailey Hongzhuang's left hand gripped the long whip tightly, not giving her the chance to retract it. Slap! A loud slap, accompanied by a tearing sound, rang out. The crowd gasped in shock. On Daijimon's delicate face, 5 fine scars covered half of her face. Fresh blood slowly flowed from the scars. It was a sinister and terrifying sight. Feeling the pain on her face, Daijimon instinctively touched her face. When she saw the fresh blood on her hand, her face quickly filled with terror. Chapter 179. If it's destroyed, then it's destroyed. What can you do about it? Bailey Hongzhuang's expression was indifferent. Even though her actions were so ruthless, her expression was still indifferent. I've never liked to provoke others. But the next time someone tries to cause trouble for me, don't blame me for being impolite. Bailey Hongzhuang's expression suddenly turned cold. Her eyes were filled with a trace of coldness as she swept her gaze across the crowd. Everyone's expression slightly changed. For a long time, everyone had been immersed in the fact that Bailey Hongzhuang was a waste. Even though Bailey Hongzhuang had already cleared her name, no one took it to heart. This was because the image of Bailey Hongzhuang was deeply ingrained in their hearts. But at this moment, looking at the frosty expression on her face, Everyone knew that Bailey Hongzhuang was no longer a waste that could be bullied by anyone. She was a true genius. Whoever dared to provoke her would have to face her wrath. At this moment, another figure walked into the Tianxiang auction hall. The man wore a dark green brocade robe. After seeing Daijiman, his face revealed a smile. But when the man saw Daijiman's face, his expression suddenly changed. "Jiman, what happened to you?" When Daijiman saw the man, it was as if she had found her backbone. She immediately cried out, "Brother Lu, you have to help me get revenge." Lu Jingquan was also a student of the Azure Water School. He had always admired Daijiman. This time, when he saw Daijiman return to the Imperial City, he also followed her back. Now that he saw the beauty in trouble, Lu Jingquan was duty-bound to protect her. "Who did it?" Lu Jingquan angrily roared. "I did it," Bailey Hongzhuang indifferently said. "You want to help her get revenge?" Lu Jingquan was extremely angry. He immediately wanted to make a move on Bailey Hongzhuang. But when he saw Bailey Hongzhuang's appearance, his hands couldn't help but stop. What a stunning beauty! He had always thought that Daijiman was very beautiful. But compared to this woman in front of him, Daijiman was overshadowed. "You did it?" Lu Jingquan asked. "Who are you?" "Bailey Hongzhuang." Bailey Hongzhuang's eyes flashed with impatience. "If you want to do it, then do it. I don't have so much time to waste." Hearing Bailey Hongzhuang's tone, everyone was even more speechless. This Bailey Hongzhuang was really amazing. Lu Jingquan was a real middle-stage mysterious Ian expert. Not only did Bailey Hongzhuang refuse to back down, she even took the initiative to provoke her? "Brother Lu, what are you waiting for? Help me ruin her face," Daijiman urged. "Okay." Lu Jingquan hesitated. He didn't know whether he should attack or not. In the face of such a beauty, he believed that no man could bear to be ruthless. Just as Lu Jingquan was hesitating, the manager of the Tianxiang auction house arrived. Looking at the scene in front of him, the shopkeeper had already heard the whole story from others. He never thought that Daijiman would actually make a move in Tianxiang auction house. Their Tianxiang auction house had branches all over the Shengxian continent. There was no need to talk about their background. No matter who it was, they would have to give face to their Tianxiang auction house. Even if they had grudges, they would have to wait until after they left. Otherwise, it would be the same as not giving them any face. All these years, any cultivator who dared to do such a thing had been blacklisted by the Tianxiang auction house. They never thought that trouble would come today. Chapter 180. Although Tianxiang Trading Company had always kept a low profile, everyone knew that Tianxiang Trading Company was not to be trifled with. Even the royal family had to give Tianxiang Trading Company some face. This was because the royal family only had absolute power in Fengbo country, while Tianxiang Trading Company had a considerable influence in the entire Shengxian continent. In comparison, Tianxiang Trading Company's background was even more shocking. Daijiman and Bailey Hongzhuang had caused trouble at Tianxiang Trading Company, so it was very likely that they would be blacklisted by Tianxiang Trading Company. This was not a joke. How many shops did Tianxiang Trading Company have? How many cultivators needed to buy things from these shops? Without Tianxiang Trading Company, their choices were too narrow. "Miss Dai, Chen Wangfei, the auction is about to begin. I hope that the two of you can give me some face and temporarily put aside your differences. How about it?" Shopkeeper Su Xingchuan said with a light smile. His amiable face did not reveal the slightest trace of anger. Bailey Hongzhuang retracted the coldness in her eyes and said with a light smile, "I'm truly sorry for affecting Tianxiang Trading Company's auction." Hearing this, Su Xingchuan glanced at Bailey Hongzhuang again. In an instant, Bailey Hongzhuang was able to retract her sharpness, change her expression, and freely control her emotions. Just based on this point, Bailey Hongzhuang was a character. Not only that, he already knew that Bailey Hongzhuang was not the one who caused trouble, but Daijiman who provoked her. Even so, Bailey Hongzhuang still apologized. From this, one could see how magnanimous she was. Chen Wangfei is too serious. For you to participate in our Tianxiang Trading Company's auction is our honor. Bailey Hongzhuang smiled but did not speak. From the moment Su Xingchuan appeared, she knew that this person was not simple. This person's cultivation was stronger than all of them present. Such a cultivation was worthy of respect. However, this Su Xingchuan was only the shopkeeper of Tianxiang Trading Company. It seemed that she had underestimated Tianxiang Trading Company. Dai Jiman did not have such a good temper. Bailey Hongzhuang injured me to this extent. If you want me to let her go, you must be dreaming. As soon as these words were spoken, Su Xingchuan's smile lost some of its warmth. So you're saying that Miss Dai is unwilling to give our Tianxiang Trading Company face? Following Su Xingchuan's words, everyone felt the pressure in the entire hall drop. Everyone broke out in cold sweat for Daijiman. This girl was the one who didn't know the immensity of heaven and earth. Daijiman didn't know, but Lu Jingkuan knew the meaning behind Su Xingchuan's words. Once they were blacklisted by Su Xingchuan, they would be rejected by all the shops under Tianxiang. At that time, the word miserable would not be enough to describe it. Shopkeeper Su, we were in the wrong. We apologize, Lu Jingkuan said. Looking at Lu Jingkuan's expression, Daijiman became even angrier. She had been bullied to this extent, and he still wanted her to restrain herself? In Daijiman's dictionary, there was no such thing. She knew of Tianxiang Trading Company's influence, but so what? She didn't believe that Tianxiang Trading Company would blacklist her over such a small matter. Lu Jingkuan, if you don't help me kill Bailey Hongzhuang, don't even think about being together with me in the future. Daijiman angrily said. Su Xingchuan frowned. This Daijiman was too arrogant. She didn't even put Tianxiang Trading Company in her eyes. Chapter 181. Hearing this, Su Xingchun coldly looked at the two of them and nodded. That's good. After Su Xingchun left, Lu Jingkuan whispered into Daijiman's ear. Jiman, don't worry, I will definitely avenge you. But we have to wait until the auction is over, how about it? Daijiman, who was originally dissatisfied, calmed down after hearing this. She nodded, okay. When the time comes, you have to help me kill her. No problem. Through the conversation between Bailey Hongzhuang and Su Xingchun, Lu Jingkuan knew that Bailey Hongzhuang was already married and had nothing to do with him. Since that was the case, he had to kill her. Master, these two bastards are talking about killing you after the auction. Xiao He angrily said. Bailey Hongzhuang's mouth hooked up into a sneer. With just them. This pair of villains colluding with each other, I feel annoyed just by looking at them. Xiao Bai disdainfully said, Master doesn't need to do anything, I'll deal with them myself. We'll talk about it when the time comes. Since they don't have eyes, I'll send them to hell. Xiao He and Xiao Bai's eyes flashed with excitement. These bastards were too much. Until now, their master had always been low-key, so they really thought that their master was easy to bully. This time, they would let these scum know the price of blood. Jiman, don't be angry. As students of Azure Water School, we can sit in first class while some people can only sit in second class. Lu Jingkuan said with a smile. Tianxiang auction's seating arrangements were also very particular. They were divided into first class, second class, and third class. This arrangement was based on each family's status. The first-class seats were the most comfortable and had a larger area. Even the auction items could be seen more clearly. The second-class seats were slightly worse, and the third-class seats were even more crowded. Although one could participate in the auction regardless of their seating arrangement, the seating arrangement was a symbol of status. That's true. Daijiman's face revealed a smile. As she spoke, she glanced at Bailey Hongzhuang. Some people should only be able to sit in second class. I don't know why they are so arrogant. Bailey Hongzhuang was puzzled. She really didn't know that there was such a difference in the auction house. Xiao Zifen whispered beside Bailey Hongzhuang. Juniors like us can only sit in the second-class seats, ordinary people sit in the third-class seats, and powerful elders can sit in the first-class seats. Bailey Hongzhuang nodded slightly. She didn't really care about this. A first-class seat is enough to make you guys so proud. There's really nothing to be proud of, Zhao Yunxi couldn't help but say. She suddenly felt that Li Yue wasn't as hateful as she thought, because there was someone who was even more arrogant than Li Yue in the past. Dai Jimon's eyes narrowed. She raised her chin and said, "If you have the ability, why don't you get one too?" Bailey Hongzhuang didn't think that Zhao Yunxi would suddenly speak up for her. Just as she was about to speak, the attendant of Tianxiang Auction House suddenly walked in front of her and said, "Chen Wangfei, the shopkeeper said that VIP box number 2 has been prepared for you." When these words came out, the proud expression on Dai Jimon's face froze. What did he say? VIP box number 3 has been prepared for Bailey Hongzhuang? What qualifications does Bailey Hongzhuang have to enter VIP box number 3? Chapter 182. Bailey Hongzhuang was also puzzled. From Dai Jimon and Xian Ziheng's expressions, she could tell that this VIP box was not ordinary. It was clearly much better than the first-class seat. Prepared for me? Why? Her clear eyes were filled with shock and confusion. She had no relationship with Tianxiang Trading Company. If it was only because of what happened just now, then it was too far-fetched. The attendant's face was filled with a courteous smile as he gently explained, "Chen Wangye is our Tianxiang Trading Company's VIP. You are Chen Wangfei, so naturally you can enter the VIP box." Bailey Hongzhuang suddenly understood. She never thought that she would be able to bask in Di Beichen's glory. That fellow with his status, he indeed has the qualifications to become Tianxiang Trading Company's VIP. After the attendant left, Bailey Hongzhuang's lips slowly curved into an elegant smile. "I only have a VIP box, not a first-class seat. I really envy you guys." Dai Jimon and Xian Ziheng's faces instantly turned ugly. Everyone looked at them with ridicule in their eyes. Xian Yuanhuan looked at Bailey Hongzhuang in shock. He really didn't know that trash Di Beichen would be Tianxiang Trading Company's VIP. Even he had to rely on his status as a member of the imperial family to be able to get a VIP box. Even Xian Yuanjing couldn't enter. Just what kind of ability does Di Beichen have? The auction is about to start. Let's go in together. Bailey Hongzhuang looked at Xiao Zifen and Xian Ziheng. Hearing Bailey Hongzhuang's words, Zhao Yunxi's eyes filled with surprise. "I can also go?" Bailey Hongzhuang lightly smiled and nodded. "Of course." Zhao Yunxi's smile was brilliant. She was really curious about this legendary VIP box. She never thought that she would have the opportunity to sit in one today. The three of them no longer hesitated and directly walked towards the VIP box. At the same time the three of them left, the other people in the hall also slowly walked towards the auction. Dai Jimon looked at the direction Bailey Hongzhuang left and fiercely stomped her foot. She originally wanted to use today's opportunity to ruthlessly stomp on Bailey Hongzhuang. She never thought that she would actually lose face. Bailey Hongzhuang and the other two were led into the VIP box by the waiter. The square box was located on the second floor of the auction hall. From above, one could clearly see the entire auction hall. The private room was very spacious and comfortable. The seats were soft, making it very comfortable to sit on. On the table in the middle of the room, high-quality tea and exquisite snacks had already been prepared. 3 brochures were placed on the table, waiting for people to flip through. Sizing up the environment in the box, Zhao Yunxi's face was filled with a trace of amazement. The treatment in this VIP box is indeed different. Compared to the environment below, who knows how many times better. She had been to auctions before, but she had always sat in the second-class seat. Originally, she didn't think there was anything wrong with the second-class seats, but after seeing the VIP rooms, she deeply felt the difference between the two. Xiao Zifen nodded in agreement. This VIP box is extremely well decorated. It's elegant and comfortable. Sitting in the lobby is always a bit hot. Bailey Hongzhuang lightly smiled. Tianxiang Commerce's number of VIPs is already very small. This VIP box naturally has to be decorated to perfection. She couldn't help but admit that for Tianxiang Commerce to have such influence in the Shengxian continent, they really had a business mind. With such a clear distribution of ranks, it successfully aroused everyone's desire to compete. They only hoped to have a higher position in Tianxiang Commerce. Chapter 183. Daijimon sat in her seat. This was the first time she was sitting in Tianxiang's first-class auction. She was originally very happy, but when she thought about how Bailey Hongzhuang was actually sitting in the VIP box, she felt a burst of anger. Why was that woman able to sit in the VIP box? Thinking back, she was one of the few chosen cultivators in the Imperial City to participate in the Azure Water School's examination and become a student. It could be said that she had limitless glory. This time, she wanted to be the focus of everyone's attention, but everyone's attention was on Bailey Hongzhuang. After asking around, she was surprised to find out that Bailey Hongzhuang actually had the Azure Water School's invitation letter. As a student of the Azure Water School, she was very clear about the importance of this invitation letter. This undoubtedly made her jealous. What she couldn't bear the most was that Bailey Hongzhuang was actually married to Di Beichen. How could this be? Bailey Hongzhuang picked up an auction catalog. She hadn't looked at it before, so she wanted to see if there was anything she needed in this auction. At this time, Zhao Yunxi looked at Bailey Hongzhuang's face and suddenly said, "Bailey Hongzhuang, do you know why Daijimon is looking for trouble with you?" Bailey Hongzhuang raised her eyebrows. "Because I received the Azure Water School's invitation letter?" Zhao Yunxi nodded, then shook her head. "This is only one of the reasons. The other reason should be that she is holding a grudge." Her deep black eyes were filled with some doubts. Other than this, she didn't seem to have any conflicts with Daijimon. Xiao Zifen immediately understood the meaning of Zhao Yunxi's words, and a trace of helplessness appeared on his face. "Because of what?" Bailey Hongzhuang asked. In the past, Daijimon was in love with Prince Qin. When these words came out, Bailey Hongzhuang's eyes widened. She had thought of many possibilities, but this was the only one she hadn't thought of. Di Beichen, Daijimon actually liked Di Beichen? Although Prince Chen's legs are disabled, there are many women who admire him in the Imperial City. After all, such a handsome man is rare in the world. At that time, the Emperor intended to betroth Daijimon to Prince Chen. Coincidentally, Daijimon had always been in love with Prince Chen. Many people knew at that time, but Prince Chen refused. In the past 3 years, His Majesty has mentioned many times to arrange a marriage for Prince Chen, but Prince Chen has never agreed. As she spoke, Zhao Yunxi looked at Bailey Hongzhuang strangely. "Until you appeared, Prime Minister Li proposed to marry you to Prince Chen, and Prince Chen actually agreed. This was something that no one could believe. For a long time, Prince Chen had refused to get married, but the Emperor didn't care. When facing Bailey Hongzhuang, Di Beichen chose to agree. What's more, for Bailey Hongzhuang, he offended the general's mansion and gave Bailey Hongzhuang a grand and perfect wedding. It could be seen that Di Beichen really liked Bailey Hongzhuang. How could Daijimon be convinced by such a big gap between them?" Bailey Hongzhuang's eyes flashed with surprise. When she saw Xiao Zifen nodding in agreement, she realized that all this was true. It seemed that she had underestimated Di Beichen's charm. There were so many women who admired him in the Imperial City. "I see." Bailey Hongzhuang smiled faintly. "But now it proves that Prince Qin really has good taste." Chapter 184. Now she understood. Out of all the people in the Imperial City, only Prince Chen had a good eye. Bailey Hongzhuang smiled but didn't say anything. She didn't know that Zhao Yunxi was also paying attention to Di Beichen. Speaking of Di Beichen, Bailey Hongzhuang's eyes changed. She didn't know how he was doing right now. Looking at the auction catalog in her hand, Bailey Hongzhuang found that there were quite a few treasures in this auction. Weapons, medicinal ingredients, cultivation methods, martial skills and other things that cultivators needed. It seemed that Tianxiang Auction House had prepared quite a bit of time for this auction. She came this time for a weapon, but after looking through the catalog for half a day, she still couldn't find anything that suited her. She naturally wouldn't be interested in a normal weapon. If there wasn't anything suitable, she could only look for it later. Just as Bailey Hongzhuang was about to give up, her gaze suddenly froze on the last page of the catalog. It was a completely blue sword. Ice sword. It was incomparably sharp and filled with cold qi. During battle, it could increase the damage caused by the cold qi. It was a pretty good treasure. Bailey Hongzhuang's lips curled into a faint smile. It seemed that she had finally found a pretty good treasure. While Bailey Hongzhuang was looking for a treasure that suited her, Xiao Zifen and Zhao Yunxi were also looking for something. Since they had come here, they naturally hoped that this trip wouldn't be in vain. A moment later, a black-robed old man appeared on the auction stage. The old man was about 50 years old. His eyes were bright as he looked at the guests below the stage with a smile on his face. Thank you everyone for taking the time out of your busy schedules to participate in Tianxiang Auction House's auction. I am the auctioneer, Su Jin. Everyone's gaze fell on Su Jin. This person was the head auctioneer of Tianxiang Auction House. There was almost no chance of an item being auctioned off by him. Let's not talk too much. I'm sure that everyone doesn't like to talk too much. Now, let's begin the auction of the first item. Hearing the old man's words, the crowd below the stage clapped. The old man's straightforward opening made it easy for everyone to have a good impression of him. The old man raised his left hand slightly, and a woman in a red dress slowly walked up with a tray of auction items in her hands. The woman's figure was excellent and curvaceous. When she walked, her charm was obvious and she attracted everyone's attention. Even when the woman walked down the stage, many men were still looking in the direction the woman had left. Next, we'll introduce the first auction item, the Savage Blood Blade. As soon as he finished speaking, the old man lifted the red silk and the incomplete blood blade appeared in front of everyone. The Savage Blood Blade is a bloody weapon. It's extremely sharp and can be used for sneak attacks or self-defense. That's not all. It's light and easy to carry around. It's not easy to discover. It's a good choice. The old man raised the severed blood blade so that the guests below could see it more clearly. The silver-white blade of the severed blood blade had a few traces of blood red on it. Sure enough, it complemented the name Severed Blood Blade. Sitting in the VIP box, Bailey Hongzhuang and the others could clearly see the appearance of the incomplete blood blade. The Tianxiang Auction House's VIP box seemed to have used a mysterious method to zoom in on the stage. Thus, even though they were far away, they could still see it clearly. Bailey Hongzhuang looked at the severed blood blade. It was indeed a good weapon. Chapter 185. Severed Blood Blade. The starting bid is 4,000 gold coins. Each bid must be at least 1,000 gold coins. The auction begins now. As soon as Su Jin's voice fell, the sound of a bid rang out in the hall. 5,000 gold coins, 6,000 gold coins. As soon as the first bid was called out, the next bid had already drowned out the previous one. The hall was very lively. 9,000 gold coins. 10,000 gold coins. In a short time, the price of the severed blood blade had already risen to 10,000 gold coins. However, after the price had reached this point, the cultivators that were competing for the severed blood blade stopped bidding. For the severed blood blade to reach such a price was already pretty good. 11,000 gold coins. Another voice called out. Su Jin's face revealed a smile as he said, "Another guest has bid 11,000 gold coins. 11,000 gold coins, is there anyone who wants to go higher?" After hearing Su Jin's words, another voice rang out, 12,000 gold coins. 12,000 gold coins. Is there anyone who wants to go higher? The hall was silent. For the severed blood blade to reach such a price was already very high. The owner of the severed blood blade below the stage, seeing that his item had reached such a price, revealed a smile. This price was much higher than if he had directly sold it to a shop. 12,000 gold coins sold. Su Jin raised the small hammer in his hand and heavily slammed it down. The dull and loud sound of the hammer fell into everyone's ears, announcing the end of the first auction item. Congratulations to the guest who has won the severed blood blade. Tianxiang Auction House's staff took the lead in applauding. The guests in the hall also followed suit. On Su Jin's right-hand side, an enchanting woman in a red dress walked towards the guests below the stage with a tray in her hand. That person received the severed blood blade under the applause of the crowd and the beautiful woman's smile. His face blossomed into a wide smile. No wonder Tianxiang commerce is so amazing. Just from the auction itself, you can see it. Xiao Bai sighed. Tianxiang commerce's grasp of people's hearts was truly amazing. Bailey Hongzhuang slightly nodded. Tianxiang commerce's methods are truly amazing. The severed blood blade's price wasn't 12,000 gold coins, but after Tianxiang Auction House's performance, even if that person had paid more, he would still be extremely happy. He believed that the next time that person participated in an auction, he would definitely choose Tianxiang Auction House as his first choice. After the first item was auctioned off, several other items were auctioned off one after another. However, Bailey Hongzhuang and the other two did not bid. The next item is called Mysterious Star Sword. Su Jin lifted the red silk, and a silver sword appeared in everyone's line of sight. This sword can cut through iron like mud, and it can even cut through hair with a blow. It's truly an excellent weapon. Guests who use swords as weapons, don't miss this opportunity. Xiao Zifen, who had been quietly watching the auction, suddenly sat up and stared at the mysterious star sword. Seeing the change in Xiao Zifen, Bailey Hongzhuang said, "You've taken a fancy to this mysterious star sword?" Xiao Zifen smiled and nodded. "This mysterious star sword is very good. I'm about to go to the Azure Water School to find a suitable weapon." "Come on, buy it," Zhao Yunxi said with a smile. The starting price for the mysterious star sword is 30,000 gold coins. Each bid must be at least 1,000 gold coins. Let the auction begin. 31,000 gold coins. 32,000 gold coins. Chapter 186. The price of this kind of auction was beyond their ability. If they wanted to go far on the road of cultivation, it was impossible to do so without enough money. 40,000 gold coins. The bidding was very fast. In just a short time, the price of the mysterious star sword had already broken through the 50,000 mark. After reaching 50,000, the number of cultivators participating in the auction decreased by a lot. 51,000 gold coins. Xiao Zifen began to bid. He was very clear that it was impossible to win the mysterious star sword by bidding at the beginning. It was better to wait until there were fewer competitors before bidding. Daijimon, who was sitting in the first-class seat, was originally bored. However, when she heard the bidding from Bailey Hongzhuang's box, her eyes lit up. A sly and sinister smile appeared on Daijimon's face as she said, "Offending me, I'll make you pay a price first. 52,000 gold coins." Daijimon's voice rang out in the hall. Hearing this voice, Bailey Hongzhuang narrowed her eyes. Daijimon's weapon was a whip and not a sword. It was clear that she was deliberately playing tricks. 53,000 gold coins. Xiao Zifen called out again. 54,000 gold coins. Daijimon immediately shouted. No matter how Xiao Zifen called out the price, Daijimon always added 1,000 gold coins. Although she and Xiao Zifen had no conflict before, since Xiao Zifen was with Bailey Hongzhuang, then he was her target. Seeing Daijimon so unyielding, Xiao Zifen's heart also surged with anger. The other competitors had already given up. If it wasn't for Daijimon playing tricks, then the mysterious star sword would have already been won by him. 60,000 gold coins. Xiao Zifen increased the price by 5,000 gold coins. It was clear that he was angry. Seeing Xiao Zifen angry, Daijimon's smile became even wider, 61,000 gold coins. Seeing the competition between Daijimon and Xiao Zifen, everyone understood that Daijimon was deliberately raising the price. Previously, Daijimon and Bailey Hongzhuang's conflict was so conspicuous. Who didn't know? It was just that Daijimon's malicious way of raising the price was really disgusting. When participating in an auction, what everyone hated the most was meeting this kind of person. Wasting so much money for no reason. After all, no one's money came from the wind. This kind of behavior was too despicable. Su Jin also noticed this scene. As the auctioneer of the auction house, it was his responsibility to get the highest price. Thus, he was happy to see this scene. No matter who got the mysterious star sword in the end, the auction house. 70,000 gold coins. Xiao Zifen's words. 71,000 gold coins. Daijimon was still smiling, but in her heart she was a bit surprised. The mysterious star sword being auctioned for over 50,000 was already pretty good, but now she had actually raised the price to such a high price. It was clear that Xiao Zifen really liked this sword. When Daijimon called out the price of 71,000 gold coins, Xiao Zifen let out a sigh of relief. This time, he had prepared a total of 70,000 gold coins. He originally thought that 70,000 gold coins would be enough to buy the weapon he wanted. He never thought that Daijimon would ruin everything. Not shooting. Bailey Hongzhuang asked aloud. Zhao Yunxi's face was filled with anger. This Daijimon is too much. Simply shameless. Chapter 187. Daijimon was waiting for Xiao Zifen to continue bidding, but was surprised to find that after waiting for a long time, Xiao Zifen did not speak again. Her face could not help but change. Xiao Zifen could not have just given up like this, right? She did not need the mysterious star sword at all. If she bid for the item and did not want it, it would be the same as breaking the auction house's rules. This was not what she wanted to see. 71,000 gold coins going once. 71,000 gold coins going twice. Everyone's face revealed a bit of ridicule. They were very clear that Xiao Zifen really wanted to bid for the mysterious star sword. If the mysterious star sword fell into Daijimon's hands, Daijimon really wanted to cry but had no tears. 71,000 gold coins going thrice. At this moment, Bailey Hongzhuang suddenly opened her mouth. 72,000 gold coins. The moment Bailey Hongzhuang opened her mouth, Daijimon's entire body relaxed. Fortunately, the weapon did not fall into her hands. She looked at the mysterious star sword with lingering fear. Her face was very ugly. This. Xiao Zifen looked at Bailey Hongzhuang in surprise. He only brought a total of 70,000 gold coins. Bailey Hongzhuang faintly smiled. The reason why Daijimon did this was all because of me. You were dragged down by me, so I'll give you this mysterious star sword. If it was not for her, Xiao Zifen would have no problem bidding for the mysterious star sword and would not have suffered so much injustice. To be honest, she felt very sorry in her heart. How can that be? Xiao Zifen quickly refused. This weapon is for me, how can I let you give it to me? It's okay, we are friends, giving a gift is normal. No. Xiao Zifen firmly shook his head. Lend me 2,000 gold coins first, I'll return it to you when I go back. Seeing Xiao Zifen firmly refuse, Bailey Hongzhuang laughed involuntarily. How about this? Since you are so determined, then you pay the original price of the mysterious star sword, 50,000 gold coins. As for the rest, I'll pay. Xiao Zifen was startled. Just as he was about to speak again, Bailey Hongzhuang spoke first. If you refuse again, then you want me to feel sorry in my heart. Hearing this, Xiao Zifen nodded. Thank you. This is what I should do. There's no need to thank me. Bailey Hongzhuang's lips curved into a smile, but her eyes were cold and frosty. It was one thing for Daijimon to cause trouble for her, but she even dared to cause trouble for her friend. Once the auction was over, she would definitely make Daijimon pay the price. The auction was still going on. From the beginning to the end, Daijimon and Lu Jingquan had not bid for anything. Just now they treated Xiao Zifen like that. Wouldn't Bailey Hongzhuang wait for an opportunity to retaliate? They would not give Bailey Hongzhuang this chance. The next item to be auctioned is a soaring snake leather armor for women. It has a strong defense, and wearing it will undoubtedly increase the chances of survival. As cultivators, we will often encounter danger. This leather armor is definitely the best choice. Everyone, there is no need to hesitate. The starting price is 40,000 gold coins. The auction starts now. Zhao Yunxi's gaze froze on the bright red leather armor. She really wanted this armor. 50,000 gold coins. Zhao Yunxi called out. Following Zhao Yunxi's words, the cultivators below the stage were shocked. She directly raised the price by 10,000 gold coins. From this, it could be seen that this person was determined to get this armor. Daijimon's face once again revealed a smile. This was Zhao Yunxi's voice. Chapter 188. When everyone heard that Daijimon was using the same trick again, they all gave up on the idea of bidding for the leather armor. With this shit stirrer in the middle, unless they were idiots, there was no way they could bid for the leather armor. The thing that Zhao Yunxi didn't want to happen the most still happened. Daijimon used the same trick again. 65,000 gold coins. Zhao Yunxi said. 66,000 gold coins. Daijimon smiled proudly. This feeling of bullying people was too good. Seeing that Daijimon was not going to give up, Zhao Yunxi's face turned red with anger. She suddenly shouted, Daijimon, don't go too far. Daijimon also didn't think that Zhao Yunxi would suddenly shout her name. However, she didn't care. Instead, the smile on her face became even more proud. So what if I bid for something? Do you have the right to not let me bid? You're deliberately causing trouble. Everyone knows this. So what? What can you do to me? Daijimon's smile was still the same. It was just Zhao Yunxi. She could bully her however she wanted. At this moment, a cold voice came from the private room. A person who is shameless is invincible. You've used this rule to the point of perfection. Hearing this, Daijimon's expression changed. She could no longer maintain the smile on her face. Everyone was stunned. A person who is shameless is invincible. This was the first time they heard of this, but they felt that it made sense. Daijimon's current actions could be described with these words perfectly. You dare to call me shameless? Daijimon stood up and angrily glared at the private room above. Bailey Hongzhuang's lips curled up. Some people are naturally shameless. Do you think I should give her face? Bailey Hongzhuang, you're courting death. Daijimon was furious. This Bailey Hongzhuang's words were simply a slap to her face. Bailey Hongzhuang's eyes narrowed. Her gaze was as cold as a knife. Looks like the lesson I gave you just now wasn't enough. If you have the guts to say another word, I'll make you regret being born into this world. The chilling words were filled with an incomparably domineering aura, and a frightening aura erupted. This was no longer a threat, but a final warning. Everyone's expression changed. They had never seen this side of Bailey Hongzhuang. From these words, everyone felt a strong pressure, as if a superior had issued an ultimatum to his subordinates. It was reasonable to say that they would find these words somewhat funny. Although Bailey Hongzhuang's talent was strong, Daijimon had already studied at the Azure Water School for a year. With their current strength, Daijimon was probably even stronger than her. How could she take Daijimon's life? But under such circumstances, hearing Bailey Hongzhuang's cold tone, no one thought that she was overestimating herself. Daijimon was stunned. In this short period of time, she had been overwhelmed by Bailey Hongzhuang's aura. Bailey Hongzhuang, who do you think you are? Daijimon sneered. You only have a bit of potential, yet you're already so lawless. If I want to deal with you, I have plenty of ways to do so. Bailey Hongzhuang's mouth slowly hooked up into a smile. Daijimon, tomorrow at noon on the life and death stage, do you dare to fight? In the Shengxian continent there were many conflicts between cultivators. When some conflicts were too big to be resolved, some cultivators would choose to step onto the life and death stage. Once on the life and death stage, life and death would be up to fate. No matter who died, the other party could not pursue the matter. Chapter 189. After all, both sides had good family backgrounds. Even if there were conflicts, they could think of ways to deal with it. No one was willing to pay the price with their lives. When Bailey Hongzhuang spoke about the life and death battle, the audience all gasped at the same time. Life and death arena? Bailey Hongzhuang actually wants to fight in the life and death arena? It seems like this Bailey Hongzhuang isn't just arrogant. The life and death arena isn't a joke. Daijimon's repeated provocations have already angered Bailey Hongzhuang. However, Bailey Hongzhuang's choice is really unexpected. Daijimon never thought that Bailey Hongzhuang would want to fight in the life and death arena. After a short moment of surprise, her mouth hooked up into a cold smile. Originally, she wanted to wait until after the auction to make a move on Bailey Hongzhuang. Since Bailey Hongzhuang wanted to die, then she would send Bailey Hongzhuang to heaven. She knew that Bailey Hongzhuang was at the early stage of Mysterious Ian, but she was already at the middle stage of Mysterious Ian. Tomorrow, she would let Bailey Hongzhuang see the difference between the early stage and middle stage of Mysterious Ian. Good. Daijimon's tone was still proud. Bailey Hongzhuang, when the time comes, you will have to beg me to show mercy. Bailey Hongzhuang smiled coldly. Tomorrow will be the day you die. Humph. Seeing that Bailey Hongzhuang wasn't backing down, Daijimon coldly snorted. Today, she would let Bailey Hongzhuang be as arrogant as she wanted. Tomorrow, she would make Bailey Hongzhuang lose all face in front of everyone. Xianyuan Huan looked at the conflict between Bailey Hongzhuang and Daijimon in shock. He never thought that the two would fight to the death the first time they met. The current Bailey Hongzhuang was like a completely different person from before. Zhao Yunxi's eyes widened. She even forgot to close her mouth. She just couldn't stand Daijimon's actions and started arguing with her. She had never thought that things would be so serious. Bailey Hongzhuang, I was only speaking out of anger. How could you challenge me to a duel in the life and death arena? If we lose, then wouldn't. Zhao Yunxi said anxiously. Seeing the anxiety on Zhao Yunxi's face, Bailey Hongzhuang's smile became gentler. Just as Xiao Zifen had said, although Zhao Yunxi's temper was a bit impatient, her heart wasn't bad. Before today, there was still some estrangement between Zhao Yunxi and her. Who would have thought that because of Daijimon's appearance, Zhao Yunxi would side with her against a common enemy? Xiao Zifen also had a worried expression. You're too impulsive. I heard that Daijimon has already broken through to the middle stage of Mysterious Ian. Coupled with her year of studying in Azure Water School, I'm afraid you're not her opponent. Bailey Hongzhuang faintly smiled and waved her hand. Don't worry, I know what I'm doing. When Bailey Hongzhuang first met Daijimon, she already knew Daijimon's strength. Although she was only at the early stage of Mysterious Ian, her true battle strength was something that even a middle-stage Mysterious Ian cultivator wouldn't be able to contend against. This was her confidence. Daijimon had only studied in Azure Water School for a year. In her previous life, she had roamed Jianghu for many years. No matter if it was cultivation experience or battle experience, no one in the same age group could compare to her. She didn't even put Daijimon in her eyes. She only chose the life and death arena because she wanted to reduce the trouble Daijimon's family would have. Otherwise, she would have directly taken Daijimon's life today. Chapter 190. Because of this, Zhao Yunxi no longer had any interest in bidding for the leather armor. However, Daijimon was even less interested. Thus, under everyone's astonishment, Zhao Yunxi was able to obtain the leather armor at a low price. Jiman, you have to be careful against Bailey Hongzhuang tomorrow, Lu Jingquan said. Dai Jiman raised her eyebrows indifferently. With just her? Once I use my full strength, she definitely won't be my opponent. Lu Jingquan frowned. From what I see, this Bailey Hongzhuang isn't simple. If you were stronger than her, your face wouldn't have become like this. Hearing this, Dai Jiman's expression changed and she hurriedly said, that was just a moment of carelessness. How could she be my opponent? Jiman, Lu Jingquan still wanted to advise Dai Jiman to be more careful. Although he had only met Bailey Hongzhuang once, he could feel that Bailey Hongzhuang wasn't an impulsive person. If she dared to propose a life and death battle, then she must have her own confidence. However, Dai Jiman wasn't willing to listen. She waved her hand in disgust and said, don't say such nonsense. How could I not know my own strength? Seeing that Dai Jiman was already angry, Lu Jingquan sighed and shut his mouth. Perhaps Dai Jiman had already thought of how to deal with Bailey Hongzhuang tomorrow, so she didn't play any tricks when Bailey Hongzhuang bid for the ice blue sword. However, many cultivators present were very interested in the ice blue sword. Just from the high starting price, they could see the value of the ice blue sword. However, the ice blue sword was still obtained by Bailey Hongzhuang in the end. The auction items were auctioned off one by one. The closer it got to the end, the higher the atmosphere of the auction became. The value of the final item naturally didn't need to be mentioned. However, most of the people present were immersed in the life and death battle between Bailey Hongzhuang and Dai Jiman. They didn't have much enthusiasm for the auction. After the last item was successfully auctioned off, the guests all stood up and prepared to leave. However, at this moment, Su Jin's words attracted everyone's attention. Before the auction starts, the auction house has received another item as the final item of the auction. I believe everyone will be very interested. Su Jin's face was filled with a confident smile. When he found out about the new item, he knew that this auction would reach a new height. Hearing Su Jin's words, everyone was stunned. They looked at the stage. There was a final item to be auctioned off's final item? The guests who were originally preparing to leave all sat back down. To be able to be the finale item of Tianxiang's auction, its value would definitely not be low. I wonder what kind of treasure item to be added to the auction house last minute? To be the final item to be the final to be the final auction. Last to be the final item in the auction last. Everyone discussed animatedly, and their faces were filled with curiosity. Zhao Yunxi was also very curious. I wonder what kind of treasure it is for the auction house to accept it last minute. Following Zhao Yunxi's words, Zhao Yunxi and Xiao Zifan were both stunned. Their gazes immediately fell on Bailey Hongzhuang. Chapter 191. This final item, it shouldn't be yours, right? Zhao Yunxi asked. Bailey Hongzhuang smiled and nodded. She had no intention of hiding it. That's right, it's mine. Seeing Bailey Hongzhuang admit it, Xiao Zifan and Zhao Yunxi were even more surprised. From the previous auctioned items, they knew how precious this item was. Bailey Hongzhuang had already taken it out. I wonder what this auction item is? Xiao Zifan asked. A pill. On the stage, the red-dressed lady raised the tray and placed the auction item in front of Su Jin. Su Jin's smile became even more brilliant. I believe everyone is very curious about what this final auction item is. I won't keep you in suspense. This auction item is something that every young cultivator needs. The bone-cleansing pill. As soon as these words came out, the atmosphere in the auction hall froze for a moment. Immediately after, a series of surprise discussions came from all directions, and the hall was bustling with noise and excitement. Bone-cleansing pill. Tianxiang auction actually has a bone-cleansing pill for auction. I didn't think that the auction would give us such a surprise. Normally, if I wanted to buy a bone-cleansing pill, I would have no way to do so. If I knew that there was a bone-cleansing pill for auction, I would have brought more money. No, I have to quickly send the news back, and have someone send the money over. You're right, I have to do the same. Daijimon was also stunned after hearing about the bone-cleansing pill. She didn't think that Tianxiang auction would give her such a surprise. Bone-cleansing pill, that was something that every cultivator yearned for in their dreams. It was even more so for her. No, I have to immediately send the news back, and have someone send the money over. Daijimon hurriedly stood up. She had already looked through the auction catalog, and there wasn't anything she wanted. Therefore, she came to the auction today just to watch the fun. She didn't bring much money with her. Daijimon quickly walked out of the auction. Lu Jingquan's heart was also burning. Even at the Azure Water School, it wasn't easy to get a bone-cleansing pill. If he could get it, that would be the best. Master, Daijimon has walked out of the auction, Xiao He said as she watched Daijimon leave. Bailey Hongzhuang smiled confidently. She just went back to get the money. She'll be back soon, but it's useless even if she comes back with the money. Xiao Zifen and Zhao Yunxi were looking at Bailey Hongzhuang in amazement. They already knew that Godly Doctor Square sold medicinal pills, but they only sold Peiyuan pills and detoxification pills. They never thought that Bailey Hongzhuang would also have baptizing bone pills. Although the baptizing bone pill and the Peiyuan pill were both Tier 2 medicinal pills, the Peiyuan pill's pill formula was widely circulated, and the vast majority of alchemists would guide it. Because of this, even though the foundation strengthening pill was hard to come by, as long as one put in the effort to find one, it would not be too difficult. The baptizing bone pill was different. There were very few alchemists who had mastered the baptizing bone pill's pill recipe. In the entire imperial city, there was only one alchemist who had mastered the pill recipe. For Bailey Hongzhuang to be able to take out a baptizing bone pill, it could be seen that she wasn't simple. Xiao Zifen and Zhao Yunxi looked at each other. They really didn't understand why Bailey Hongzhuang was so different. According to her original identity, she was just an unloved daughter of the general's household. Why was she so mysterious? Bailey Hongzhuang noticed the change in their expressions, but the corner of her mouth still had a trace of a smile. Chapter 192. She wasn't Bailey Jintao's biological daughter. She wanted to find her biological parent. So what if others suspected her identity? She was no longer the Bailey Hongzhuang that everyone could pinch. After a short moment of shock, Xiao Zifen and Zhao Yunxi no longer bothered about this matter. Bailey Hongzhuang was their friend. Seeing how amazing Bailey Hongzhuang was, they felt happy. Xianyuan Huan, who was in the first VIP box, was also shocked. Although he had already obtained a bone-cleansing pill, there were many members of the royal family. It would be great if he could get one more. There are a total of 3 bone-cleansing pills in this auction. In order to give everyone more opportunities, we have decided to auction them separately. Su Jin's voice echoed in the auction hall. Everyone became even more excited when they heard the news of 3 bone-cleansing pills. If there was only 1 pill, it would be hard to get it. However, with 3 pills, the chances were much higher. Li Chengqian, who was in the first-class seat, was also very excited when he heard the news. His mood today was extremely irritable, so he wanted to take a look at the auction. He didn't think that he would encounter such a good thing. The matter on Li Yuu's face was already known. The only thing he could do now was to increase Li Yuu's strength. No matter what, he must get this bone-cleansing pill. The first bone-cleansing pill will now be auctioned. Everyone knows that the bone-cleansing pill is priceless. Normally, it is very difficult to find a bone-cleansing pill. Therefore, this bone-cleansing pill will not have a base price. Everyone can bid as they wish. Bailey Hongzhuang's phoenix eyes narrowed. Su Jin's move was really good. If there was a base price, everyone would be able to estimate the value of the item. The final price would not be too high. Without a base price, everyone would not know where to start and it would be auctioned off at a high price. Master, it seems that Tianxiang auction will be able to get a high price for the bone-cleansing pill, Xiao He said with a smile. Xiao Bai nodded slightly. This time, the choice was not wrong. Everyone here is completely attracted by the bone-cleansing pill. Bailey Hongzhuang smiled but did not say anything. Tianxiang auction's methods were indeed better than she had imagined. 10,000 gold coins. A man from a third-class seat was the first to bid. Hearing this price, everyone felt a burst of disdain. Not to mention the auction, even if the bone-cleansing pill was sold in the shops, it would be worth far more. This guy was really shameless to ask for such a price. Feeling everyone's disdain, the man also felt embarrassed. As an ordinary citizen, it was not easy to have 10,000 gold coins. How could he forget that there were so many officials and dignitaries present? However, as soon as the man made his bid, a voice came from room number 1. 100,000 gold coins. As soon as Xianyuan Huan opened his mouth, he directly raised the price from 10,000 gold coins to 100,000 gold coins. Everyone's expression changed. During the previous auction, the Crown Prince hadn't said a word, so they had almost forgotten that he was there. The Crown Prince's status was extremely noble, and no one dared to compete with him for the baptizing bone pill. Thus, the auction hall became silent for a moment. Su Jin was also somewhat startled. After seeing that no one else continued to bid, he could only say, 100,000 gold coins going once, 100,000 gold coins going twice, 100,000 gold coins going thrice. Congratulations to Your Highness the Crown Prince for winning the bone-cleansing pill. Chapter 193. Everyone secretly sighed. The first pill had been won by the Crown Prince. If it wasn't for the Crown Prince's bid, the price of the first bone-cleansing pill wouldn't have been this high. Xiao Zifen sighed. This was the reason why alchemists had such a high status in Xingxian continent. Just a single pill they refined was enough to make many cultivators go crazy. Zhao Yunxi nodded. Since the Crown Prince has spoken, who would dare to bid? Do you think His Highness the Crown Prince wants to buy all 3 pills? Xiao Zifen pondered for a moment and said, he won't. The second pill will be auctioned. Su Jin's voice sounded again. 100,000 gold coins. Another bid of 100,000 gold coins shocked everyone in the hall. However, the person who bid this time wasn't Xianyuan Huan, but Prime Minister Li Chengqian. Seeing Li Chengqian, Bailey Hongzhuang's mouth slowly curved into a faint smile. This feeling of enemies meeting on a narrow road was really interesting. After everyone saw that it wasn't the Crown Prince who bid, they relaxed a bit. Although the Prime Minister's position was quite high, there were still many people present who weren't afraid. 110,000 gold coins. 120,000 gold coins. Seeing that everyone was silent for a moment and began to shout out bids, Li Chengqian's face couldn't help but become a bit ugly. When Dai Jimon returned, she saw that the second pill had already been auctioned. She immediately joined the auction. 150,000 gold coins. 160,000 gold coins. Li Chengqian said. 170,000 gold coins. Dai Jimon frowned. This price was almost twice the price of the first pill. However, Li Chengqian was determined to win this bone-cleansing pill. He didn't hesitate to raise the price again. With the experience of participating in many auctions, he knew that the third pill's price would definitely be higher, so he couldn't give up on the second pill. 200,000 gold coins. When Li Chengqian shouted out this price, Dai Jimon also gave up competing. With Li Yuyue's current situation, she could understand why Li Chengqian was so determined to win. However, she believed that the third pill would definitely be hers. The second bone-cleansing pill was successfully won by Li Chengqian, and the auction for the third bone-cleansing pill also began. 150,000 gold coins. The moment she opened her mouth, Daijimon raised the price to 150,000 gold coins, causing many cultivators who were preparing to bid to give up. Everyone looked at Daijimon and sighed in their hearts. These pills could only be bought by the rich. As for the commoners, they could only watch. Just the price alone was enough for them to look up to. Seeing everyone's shocked gazes, Daijimon's face was filled with pride. She wanted to see who would dare to fight with her. However, at this moment, a cold voice suddenly sounded, causing the smile on his face to fade a little. 150,001. Everyone was stunned. Everyone was raising the price by 1,000. Just now, everyone was raising the price by 10,000. But now, Bailey Hongzhuang was only raising the price by 1 gold coin? This was no longer an auction, but a blatant provocation to Daijimon. Daijimon's face was ashen. This damned Bailey Hongzhuang. 160,000 gold coins, 16,001. 170,000 gold coins, 17,001. No matter how Daijimon raised the price, Bailey Hongzhuang always raised the price by 1 gold coin. That mocking tone was clearly telling Daijimon that she was playing with Daijimon. Chapter 194. Bailey Hongzhuang, don't go too far. Daijimon angrily said. This was the first time in her life that she hated someone so much. Tomorrow, she will personally kill Bailey Hongzhuang. Bailey Hongzhuang raised her eyebrows and smiled charmingly. I'm just giving you a taste of your own medicine. What's wrong? Do you also feel that this kind of behavior is very shameful? With these words, Daijimon's face stiffened to the extreme. Bailey Hongzhuang's question made it so that no matter how she answered, it would be wrong. 200,000 gold coins. 200,001. Everyone present exclaimed as they looked at this scene. They originally thought that Daijimon had already gone too far, but they never thought that Bailey Hongzhuang would be so merciless when slapping her face. This increment of 1 gold coin by 1 gold coin was enough to drive Daijimon crazy. 250,000 gold coins. 250,001. Daijimon's voice had already reached its peak, but Bailey Hongzhuang was still calm and collected. In reality, she didn't need to worry at all because this medicinal pill was originally hers. No matter how high the price was, it would still belong to her in the end. Moreover, Tianxiang Auction House didn't charge any handling fees. She simply wouldn't sell the bone-cleansing pill to Daijimon. 300,000 gold coins. Daijimon was completely driven mad by Bailey Hongzhuang. She didn't believe that Bailey Hongzhuang would dare to raise the price at this price. See. Everyone sucked in a breath of cold air. This price was simply too crazy. 300,000 gold coins for a single bone-cleansing pill. This price was even higher than the previous 2 bone-cleansing pills. 300,001. Seeing Bailey Hongzhuang call out again, everyone was stunned. Bailey Hongzhuang was simply too ruthless. With such a price, Daijimon could only look up to it. Her entire body immediately went limp. Jimon, it's fine. Just let Bailey Hongzhuang win this pill. Such a high price is enough for her to suffer. Lu Jingquan comforted her. Daijimon nodded slightly. This was her only consolation. She did not dare to continue bidding because the price had already exceeded her limit. If she continued bidding and Bailey Hongzhuang chose to give up, then she would really be finished. Congratulations to Chun Wangfei for winning the 3rd bone-cleansing pill. Su Jin's small hammer struck, announcing the auction result of this bone-cleansing pill. When the bone-cleansing pill was returned to Bailey Hongzhuang, Xiao Zifen and Zhao Yunxi looked at it. Their eyes couldn't help but reveal a bit of envy. This was a pill that all cultivators yearned for even in their dreams. They didn't bid because they knew that with their financial resources, they wouldn't be able to obtain this pill. Seeing their appearance, Bailey Hongzhuang took out a white porcelain bottle from her Qiankuan bag and handed it to the 2 of them. These are 2 bone-cleansing pills. I'll give them to you. Hearing this, Xiao Zifen and Zhao Yunxi were stunned. Looking at the smiling Bailey Hongzhuang, they didn't come back to their senses for a long time. Give them to us? Zhao Yunxi said in a daze. Bailey Hongzhuang nodded. That's right. I'll give them to you. She had refined a total of 5 bone-cleansing pills. She sold 2 of them, gave 2 to Xiao Zifen and Zhao Yunxi, and left 1 for herself. After Xiao Zifen reacted, he hurriedly refused. This is too expensive. I can't accept it. What kind of joke was this? This was the bone-cleansing pill that had just been sold for 200,000 gold coins. Zhao Yunxi's eyes flashed with surprise, but after seeing Xiao Zifen refuse, she also hurriedly refused. Chapter 195. Bailey Hongzhuang waved her hand. Since we are friends, you don't need to care about this. The bone-cleansing pill will be of great help to you, especially since Zifen still has to work hard for the Azure Water School's exam. Don't refuse it. Xiao Zifen's heart trembled. Indeed, he must pass the Azure Water School's exam. In fact, he understood that his strength was not strong enough and he did not have enough confidence in the exam. With this bone-cleansing pill, his strength would be able to improve a bit. Even the slightest difference could change the result of the exam. After a moment of silence, Xiao Zifen looked deeply at Bailey Hongzhuang and said, "Thank you. If you need me in the future, I will not refuse." From the time he met Bailey Hongzhuang, it was always Bailey Hongzhuang who helped him. He only helped her to deal with the Hell Wolf that night. He was very clear in his heart that his appearance did not help Bailey Hongzhuang much. But because of this, Bailey Hongzhuang treated him as a friend. He did not deserve it. To be able to make a friend like Bailey Hongzhuang, he felt lucky from the bottom of his heart. Right now, he could not help Bailey Hongzhuang much, but he believed that in the future, he would be able to do it. Looking at the determination and seriousness in Xiao Zifen's eyes, Bailey Hongzhuang's smile became more warm. Okay. Zhao Yunxi also said, "Wait for me. I can't enter the Azure Water School this year, but I will try my best to enter next year." The 3 of them looked at each other and smiled, then walked out of the VIP box. Bailey Hongzhuang took the lead to go to the appraisal room. Su Hongyuan was already waiting for her. What surprised Bailey Hongzhuang was that Su Xingchuan was also in the appraisal room. Seeing Bailey Hongzhuang come, Su Hongyuan's face showed a kind smile. "Chen Wangfei, you came." Bailey Hongzhuang's face showed a faint smile. "Old Su, shopkeeper Su. I didn't think that the person auctioning the bone-cleansing pill would actually be Princess Chen," Su Xingchuan said with a smile. Originally, he only admired Bailey Hongzhuang's way of dealing with people. After knowing that the baptizing bone pill was brought by Bailey Hongzhuang, his opinion of Bailey Hongzhuang increased by a few points. Bailey Hongzhuang's medical skills, strength, potential, and background were all extraordinary. Among the younger generation, other than Bailey Hongzhuang, no one else could compare to her. In the past, he hadn't paid enough attention to Bailey Hongzhuang. Now, it seemed that he had to change his mind. "The money from the auction of the bone-cleansing pill has been transferred to your money card. You can check it." Su Hongyuan smiled. "No need, I believe in Tianxiang Commerce." Bailey Hongzhuang smiled sweetly. With Tianxiang Commerce's financial and material resources, it was impossible for them to be greedy for such a small amount of money. If she really checked it, she would be a little petty. Su Hongyuan's smile deepened. This Bailey Hongzhuang was only 15 years old, but her way of dealing with people was flawless. "Chen Wangfei, this is my Tianxiang Commerce's VIP card. I hope you can accept it." Su Xingchuan handed a black card to Bailey Hongzhuang. Tianxiang Commerce's VIP card and money card were connected. The black gold-embossed money card was low-key and luxurious. With a single glance, one could tell that this card was not simple. Bailey Hongzhuang's eyes showed some surprise. Even if she took out 3 bone-cleansing pills to auction, it was still far from enough to obtain a VIP card from Tianxiang Commerce. Tianxiang Commerce's VIP card was very hard to obtain. She had heard a little about it. Why would Su Xingchuan give her a VIP card so easily? Chapter 196. This VIP card was not light. Just the processing fee for the auction would be reduced by a lot. It was truly a good item. Thank you, shopkeeper Su. After Bailey Hongzhuang left, Su Hongyuan asked, "Why did you decide to give her a VIP card?" The alchemist behind Bailey Hongzhuang made them want to form a good relationship with her, but that alone was not enough. Su Xingchuan smiled deeply. This girl is not ordinary. Her achievements in the future will not be low. Just her medical skills alone are worthy of this VIP card. In the Shengxian continent there were not many alchemists with excellent alchemy skills. However, there were very few doctors who could compare with Bailey Hongzhuang. Just this point alone showed that Bailey Hongzhuang was not simple. Su Hongyuan nodded slightly. I also admire this girl. I wonder how far she will grow in the future. Bailey Hongzhuang returned to the Qin Palace. At the same time, the news of Bailey Hongzhuang and Daijiman's battle on the life and death arena had spread throughout the imperial city. Chen Wangfei is going to have a life and death battle with Miss Dai. Miss Dai has been cultivating in the Azure Water School for a year. I heard that her cultivation has already reached the middle stage of the mysterious Ian realm. She is even stronger than Chen Wangfei. Then why did Chen Wangfei take the initiative to challenge her? Isn't she courting death? I heard that Miss Dai's words were too harsh. That's why Chen Wangfei challenged her to a life and death arena. Too impulsive. Almost no one thought that Bailey Hongzhuang and Daijiman would win because of the difference in strength. Everyone knew that challenging someone with a higher cultivation level was not easy. Not many cultivators were able to do it. Bailey Hongzhuang did not care about other people's opinions. After eating dinner, she returned to her room to cultivate. Looking at the bone-cleansing pill in her hand, Bailey Hongzhuang did not hesitate to consume it. The bone-cleansing pill was taken as early as possible in the early stages of cultivation. After cleansing the marrow and meridians, not only would it increase one's affinity with elemental energy, it would also increase one's cultivation speed. However, when a practitioner broke through from the Hotian realm to the Xiantian realm, they would undergo a marrow cleansing and meridians cleansing. The effect of the marrow and meridian cleansing technique was even better than the bone cleansing pill. It would expel all the impurities in the body, turning an ordinary mortal into an immortal, and greatly increase the speed of cultivation. This was the reason why the cultivation in the early stages of cultivation was relatively slow. After Bailey Hongzhuang took the bone-cleansing pill, Xiao He and Xiao Bai guarded Bailey Hongzhuang outside the house. The process of marrow and meridian cleansing was extremely painful. The longer one could endure, the more impurities would be expelled, and the better the effects would be. Very quickly, Bailey Hongzhuang felt a wave of pain assaulting her. Every inch of her body felt like it was being bitten by ant. Waves of pain came from her meridians. Her charming face quickly turned pale, and her body, which was lying on the bed, curled up like a shrimp. Large beads of sweat dripped from her forehead. She bit her lips and endured the intense pain, but did not make a single sound. Time passed very slowly during this process. Bailey Hongzhuang clenched her fists, and blue veins popped out. She looked to be in extreme pain. After experiencing it again after being reborn, this feeling is still as unpleasant as before. Bailey Hongzhuang was speechless. In her previous life, she had taken the bone-cleansing pill. Now that she had taken it again, this feeling was truly unforgettable. Xiao He and Xiao Bai looked at Bailey Hongzhuang in this state, and their eyes were filled with admiration and appreciation. They understood the pain of taking the bone-cleansing pill. Many practitioners were unable to endure it, and thus, the bone-cleansing pill could not be used to its best effect. Chapter 197. The Chaos Ring has indeed chosen its master for a reason. Xiao He sighed. Xiao Bai nodded in agreement. How could it be so easy for a divine weapon to recognize its master? In the past few years, there have also been a few cultivators who had the opportunity to come into contact with the Chaos Ring, but they were unable to make it recognize them as its master. In my opinion, only cultivators with master's aptitude can make the chaos ring recognize them as its master. That's right, I believe that master will definitely be able to make waves in the Xingxian continent. When that time comes, we will be the black and white demons, ha. The next day, when Bailey Hongzhuang woke up, her body was already covered in filth. She immediately took a bath and sat down to eat, feeling refreshed. Master, how are the effects after you took the bone-cleansing pill? Xiao He scurried in front of Bailey Hongzhuang and asked. Bailey Hongzhuang smiled faintly. Not bad, I have already maximized the effects of the pill. With her previous experience, she knew what to do after taking the bone-cleansing pill, so there was no problem at all. After the cleansing, she felt that her body was much lighter than before, and it was easier for her to cultivate. Although it did not increase her cultivation by much, the benefits would become more obvious in the future. We will be heading to the life and death arena in a while. Master, are you ready? Xiao He revealed a worried expression. This competition was ultimately risky, and it was a life and death battle, so it could not help but be worried. Bailey Hongzhuang patted Xiao He's head. The furry feeling was very comfortable. Don't worry, one Daijimon is not my opponent. Baisher, who was eating, scurried in front of Bailey Hongzhuang and said softly, Master, do your best. Bailey Hongzhuang smiled faintly. These three little guys were really cute. She did not know if it was because Baisher had not eaten for a long time after being sealed in the egg, or if it was just a big eater, but it had already eaten a lot today. At the same time, Bailey Hongzhuang felt that Baisher's body seemed to have grown a little. This change was not very obvious, but she was very sure. Demonic beasts grew at different speeds. She also hoped that White Lion could grow up as soon as possible. After all, White Lion could also become her right-hand man. At noon, the scorching sun was high up in the sky, revealing a bit of scorching heat and anxiety. The vicinity of the life and death arena was already crowded with people. Almost everyone in the city who had nothing to do had come to watch the show. The surrounding restaurants were filled with people. At noon, it was naturally the most comfortable to sit in a restaurant and watch the competition while drinking tea. When Bailey Hongzhuang arrived at the martial arts stage, she saw such a lively scene and the corners of her mouth curled into a playful smile. There were indeed many people in the imperial city who liked to watch a lively scene. Bailey Hongzhuang, you're here. When Xiao Zifen and Zhao Yunxi saw Bailey Hongzhuang appear, they immediately rushed over. Now that they saw Bailey Hongzhuang appear here, their feelings were really complicated. Bailey Hongzhuang nodded slightly. You guys came very early. Bailey Hongzhuang, the competition hasn't started yet. If you regret it, you can still change your words. You must not gamble your life because of a moment of anger, Zhao Yunxi advised. In her opinion, face was not the most important thing. Life was the most important thing. Seeing the sincere concern in Zhao Yunxi's eyes, Bailey Hongzhuang patted her hand and said, Trust me, I'm not an impulsive person. Are you really confident? Xiao Zifen asked. Chapter 198. Seeing Bailey Hongzhuang so determined, Xiao Zifen was relieved. He had seen Bailey Hongzhuang's strength and knew that her battle strength was not weak. Since Bailey Hongzhuang had made her decision, then he would support it. Bailey Hongzhuang, I didn't think that you would have the guts to come. A sharp voice of ridicule came from the crowd. The person who spoke was, without a doubt, Daijimon. Bailey Hongzhuang walked up the stage under the watchful eyes of the crowd. Her gaze fell on Daijimon. Daijimon was wearing a red dress as usual. She was like a blooming peony with a noble aura. Just by standing there, her noble arrogance was obvious. The arrogance that was deeply engraved between her eyebrows was not concealed at all. Do you think that everyone is a cowardly rat like you? Bailey Hongzhuang said indifferently. Her voice was like the tinkling of spring water, sweet and clear. It was not as overbearing as Daijimon's, but it was enough to anger people to death. Bailey Hongzhuang, you really are unrepentant. Even now you're still so stubborn. Dai Jimon angrily said. She thought that after a night of thinking, Bailey Hongzhuang would understand how stupid her challenge was. She did not think that Bailey Hongzhuang would not change at all. You haven't even fought yet, and you're already saying that I will lose. Isn't it too early? Bailey Hongzhuang indifferently glanced at Daijimon. Compared to Daijimon's overbearing attitude, Bailey Hongzhuang seemed indifferent. Comparing the two, Bailey Hongzhuang was clearly superior. Bailey Hongzhuang's father, Dai Tianxiong, sized up the indifferent Bailey Hongzhuang. Yesterday, after he heard about the conflict between Daijimon and Bailey Hongzhuang, he felt that the situation was a bit troublesome. He originally did not want to get involved in the conflict between the younger generation. This was because the matters between the younger generation could only be called a fight between the younger generation. Once he got involved, the situation became a lot more complicated. It was only a life and death battle. This was a matter of life and death. If it was just an ordinary person, then it would be fine. But Bailey Hongzhuang's current status was very sensitive. Chun Wangfei, godly doctor, Azure Water School's teacher, personally invited student, plus she was the daughter of Bailey Hongzhuang. Bailey Hongzhuang was definitely not a person who could be easily moved. Although Bailey Jintao and Bailey Hongzhuang's relationship wasn't good, now that Bailey Yuyan was dead, Bailey Hongzhuang was the most outstanding junior in the general's household. He believed that Bailey Jintao's attitude had also changed. They had always valued the strength of their juniors. If Bailey Hongzhuang had shown such strength at the beginning, presumably her status would not have fallen to such a state. Was it you? Yesterday's rights? This was what he was most dissatisfied with. How rare was the bone-cleansing pill? If Jimon had won the bone-cleansing pill yesterday, then her cultivation talent would have increased by a bit. Her performance in the Azure Water School would also be better. But all of this was ruined by Bailey Hongzhuang. Hearing this, Bailey Hongzhuang's lips hooked up into an unruly smile. In the auction, the highest bidder wins. She didn't bid as high as me, so she lost. How can you say I harmed her? General Dai's logic is really hard to understand. Even if that's the case, you increase the price by 1 gold coin. Aren't you deliberately humiliating Jimon? Chapter 199. Bailey Hongzhuang raised her eyebrows, as if she didn't feel the threat in Dai Tianxiong's words. If you want to know why I'm doing this, you might as well ask your precious daughter. Once these words were spoken, everyone below the stage nodded. Yesterday at the auction, it was clearly Daijimon who provoked Bailey Hongzhuang's friend first. Bailey Hongzhuang was only giving her a taste of her own medicine. However, Bailey Hongzhuang was even more ruthless. This 1 gold coin increase really made people gasp in admiration. In short, what you're doing is wrong. Dai Tianxiong coldly said, I want you to immediately apologize to Jimon. In your dreams. Bailey Hongzhuang straightforwardly replied with 2 words, as if she didn't even think about it. It's your own daughter's fault, and you want me to apologize? General Dai, are you still dreaming? Dai Tianxiong's eyebrows were tightly knitted. At this moment, he finally saw the sharp-tongued side of Bailey Hongzhuang. Her words didn't leave anyone with a chance to refute. Since you're General Bailey's daughter, as long as you apologize to Jimon and hand over the bone-cleansing pill as compensation, I'll make the decision to let you go and cancel today's battle. Dai Tianxiong's voice was filled with an irresistible flavor. If it weren't for Bailey Hongzhuang's identity, he wouldn't even be bothered to say these words. Daijimon's heart was also somewhat unwilling. She originally wanted to take advantage of today's situation to kill Bailey Hongzhuang, but her father didn't allow her to do so. As long as Bailey Hongzhuang was willing to hand over the bone-cleansing pill, then everything would be fine. After entering the academy, she had plenty of ways to kill Bailey Hongzhuang. When everyone heard Dai Tianxiong's words, their gazes fell on Bailey Hongzhuang's body. This was a good opportunity. As long as Bailey Hongzhuang handed over the bone-cleansing pill, although she would lose some face, she would still be able to keep her life. In the restaurant, Xianyuan Huan and Xianyuan Jing's eyes were locked onto Bailey Hongzhuang. They wanted to know what Bailey Hongzhuang would choose. In my opinion, this Bailey Hongzhuang will definitely agree. It's just a bone-cleansing pill. Although it's expensive, it's not as important as her life. Xianyuan Jing said slowly. Xianyuan Huan shook his head slightly. That's not Bailey Hongzhuang's personality. She definitely won't agree. During these days, he had a certain understanding of Bailey Hongzhuang's character. The more others forced her, the more she would do the opposite. Bailey Hongzhuang exuded arrogance from the bottom of her heart. This Bailey Hongzhuang is really lucky. General Dai is actually willing to cancel the life and death battle. Bailey Haoxuan gnashed his teeth. Although Xianyuan Huan said that Bailey Yuyan died at the hands of the Stormwolf, he didn't believe it. He felt that Bailey Yuyan's death must have something to do with Bailey Hongzhuang. When he thought of the trash that he had trampled on in the past, now shining in all directions, he couldn't bear it from the bottom of his heart. Su Wanjing's eyes were full of viciousness. That damned Bailey Hongzhuang, she was really lucky. It doesn't matter. The assassins I found have already arrived. Even if Daijimon didn't kill Bailey Hongzhuang on the life and death stage today, Bailey Hongzhuang definitely won't live past tonight. Su Wanjing's voice was gloomy. I must avenge Yuyan. Bailey Yuyan, her most beloved daughter, was now dead. And Bailey Hongzhuang, this trash, was still alive and well. She had stolen all of Yuyan's glory. How could she be worthy? Bailey Hongzhuang raised her chin slightly. Her smile was as beautiful as a flower, but her eyes were as sharp as a sword. Chapter 200. Her unbridled and arrogant words were filled with an indomitable arrogance and domineering aura. Even if Dai Tianxiong was in front of her, Bailey Hongzhuang still did not give him any face. Everyone present sucked in a breath of cold air. They did not think that Bailey Hongzhuang would be so savage. Facing Daijimon, who was stronger than her, she actually dared to say such arrogant words and wanted Daijimon to beg for mercy? Dai Tianxiong's face instantly turned ashen. Bailey Hongzhuang's words were without a doubt not giving him any face. Father, people like her won't shed tears until they see the coffin. Why are you talking so much to her? Let me just kill her. Daijimon angrily said. At this moment, Dai Tianxiong no longer objected. He was only worried about Bailey Hongzhuang's identity, which was why he made such a suggestion. Since Bailey Hongzhuang refused a toast only to be forced to drink a forfeit, he did not need to worry about anything else. Dai Tianxiong waved his sleeves and walked down the stage. He said, Jimon, perform well. Hearing this, Daijimon's expression shook. She looked at Bailey Hongzhuang with a gaze filled with pride. All of this was thanks to Bailey Hongzhuang being blind. Today, he will personally deal with Bailey Hongzhuang in front of everyone. Bailey Hongzhuang, accept your death. Daijimon pulled out a long whip from her waist and smiled malevolently at Bailey Hongzhuang. Bailey Hongzhuang's expression did not change. The ice-blue sword appeared in her hand. The sparkling blue sword emitted traces of cold air. This was the ice-blue sword that she had spent hundreds of thousands of gold coins to buy from the auction. There was no need to say much about its sharpness. It also had an ice attribute, making it even more powerful in battle. After a careful examination, she found that the ice-blue sword's ability to enter the body was extremely good. It was truly a handy weapon. Xianyuan Jing stared at the scene in a daze and looked at Xianyuan Huan in surprise. You're right. Bailey Hongzhuang really refused. Xianyuan Huan smiled faintly. This Bailey Hongzhuang is not as simple as we expected. Although everyone believed that this competition was proposed by Bailey Hongzhuang on impulse, in my opinion, she has long been prepared. You mean Bailey Hongzhuang can defeat Daijimon? Xianyuan Jing's eyes widened, his face full of doubt. Is she that powerful? She was calm and fierce when facing the Gale Wolf. You can't judge a book by its cover. Seeing Xianyuan Huan speak so confidently, Xianyuan Jing also believed him a little, and looked forward to this competition even more. Bailey Haoxuan's face revealed a smile. Bailey Hongzhuang is really looking for death. Bailey Hongzhuang looked at Daijimon with a teasing smile. Daijimon, I'll give you one last chance. As long as you kowtow and beg for mercy, I'll let you go. Otherwise, don't blame me for not giving you a chance later. Daijimon coldly snorted and looked at Bailey Hongzhuang with disdain. Bailey Hongzhuang, you really are arrogant and conceited. Why don't you take a look at your own strength? If you want me to kowtow and beg for mercy, I'll send you to heaven. Saying this, Daijimon no longer hesitated. She waved her whip and attacked Bailey Hongzhuang. She wanted to tear Bailey Hongzhuang's mouth apart. Bailey Hongzhuang's eyes sharpened and a cold light quietly flashed past. Holding the ice-blue sword, she rushed at Daijimon. But Daijimon swung her whip at Bailey Hongzhuang, but Bailey Hongzhuang bent down and dodged Daijimon's attack. At the same time, Bailey Hongzhuang's figure quickly approached Daijimon. Chapter 201. Daijimon had also discovered Bailey Hongzhuang's intentions, and the whip in her hand danced even faster. Countless whip shadows covered the sky and covered the earth, completely blocking Bailey Hongzhuang's advance. Bailey Hongzhuang did not mind and directly used her long sword to meet the whip. Pung, pung, pung. The sound of weapons colliding was endless. Neither of them retreated and they were evenly matched. Seeing this scene, everyone's faces were filled with surprise. Isn't Princess Qin weaker than Daijimon by a bit? How come the two of them are evenly matched? Could it be that Princess Qin has broken through again? I already said that Princess Qin might not lose. Maybe you all guessed wrong this time. A man's face was filled with pride. All along, everyone had thought that Princess Qin would not succeed. Only he thought that Princess Qin would win. Everyone looked at each other in dismay. This situation had exceeded all their expectations. Daijimon was also very shocked. She could clearly feel that Bailey Hongzhuang's strength was at the early stage of Mysterious Aeon Realm, while the former's strength was comparable to the middle stage of Mysterious Aeon Realm. It was precisely because of this that the two of them were evenly matched in this collision. Impossible! Daijimon was displeased. She wanted to defeat Bailey Hongzhuang in front of everyone and not fight like this. Thinking of this, Daijimon's eyes narrowed. The spirit energy in her body whistled and poured into the whip. Snake Shadow Whip! Daijimon coldly shouted, and the long whip suddenly had a trace of spirituality. It was as if it had turned into a spirit snake. The long whip's speed was extremely fast. Countless strands of the whip hardened and turned into countless spirit snakes that pounced at Bailey Hongzhuang. If she was not careful, Bailey Hongzhuang would be seriously injured. Seeing this stunning snake shadow whip, everyone gasped in surprise. Azure Sea School's cultivators were indeed extraordinary. Just this martial skills power was extraordinary. It actually gave people a feeling that it was impossible to resist. Bailey Hongzhuang's eyes were tinged with a trace of coldness. The essence force in her dantian surged into the azure ice sword. The blue ice sword's brilliance blossomed, and the dazzling blue light dazzled everyone's eyes. Shadowless kill! Bailey Hongzhuang shouted coldly in her heart. She suddenly swung her long sword. Everyone only saw a bright blue light flash past, cutting through heaven and earth. Bang! The spirit snakes that filled the sky instantly disappeared, and Daijimon's whip was actually cut in half by Bailey Hongzhuang's attack. High yellow ranked martial skill. Daijimon looked at Bailey Hongzhuang in astonishment. When Bailey Hongzhuang used this martial skill, she was able to determine the rank of this martial skill. A cultivator's battle prowess was not only affected by their cultivation, but also by their cultivation techniques and martial techniques. Her Snake Shadow Whip was a mid-grade yellow-ranked martial skill, while Bailey Hongzhuang's martial skill was a high-grade yellow-ranked martial skill. It was because of this that her attack was broken by Bailey Hongzhuang. How was this possible? Bailey Hongzhuang had yet to enter Azure Water School, so how could she have a high-grade yellow-ranked martial skill? Although martial skills in the Shengxian continent were divided into heaven, earth, black, and yellow ranks, the most common ones were yellow rank martial skills and profound rank martial skills. Earth rank martial skills were extremely rare, and heaven rank martial skills only existed in legends. As pre-celestial cultivators, the martial skills they practiced were mostly yellow-ranked martial skills. Even yellow-ranked martial skills were very precious, and finding a suitable martial skill was even more difficult. Chapter 202. Bailey Hongzhuang's eyes were filled with ridicule. She didn't care about Daijimon's shock and attacked again. She had already given Daijimon a chance. This was the life and death arena, only one person could walk out alive. Daijimon was no longer as proud as before. Her face was pale. Her weapon had already been broken. How could she fight against Bailey Hongzhuang? Wait! Daijimon kept retreating and shouted in a panic. I don't have a weapon, this battle is not fair. When she said this, Bailey Hongzhuang's eyes were filled with ridicule. I think you studied in the Azure Water School for a year in vain. On the life and death arena you still want to ask for fairness. Ridiculous. Not only Bailey Hongzhuang, but everyone in the audience also felt it was funny. Your weapon was broken by the opponent because your strength was not enough. Now you want to say it's not fair? At this time, no one cares if you have a weapon or not. This is not a child's play. Shouting unfair will end the battle. However, Bailey Hongzhuang didn't care. Since you are emphasizing the weapon, I will put away my weapon and let you die convinced. Putting away the ice sword, Bailey Hongzhuang's attack didn't change. Her right hand formed a fist and spirit energy rushed towards Daijimon. Seeing Bailey Hongzhuang put away her weapon, Daijimon's face was filled with joy. In this situation, she didn't believe that Bailey Hongzhuang could win against her. Daijimon raised her fist and attacked Bailey Hongzhuang's chest. Bang! Under the shocked eyes of the audience, Bailey Hongzhuang didn't dodge the attack. Her fist didn't block Daijimon's fist and continued to attack Daijimon's chest. Daijimon's face changed. She didn't think that Bailey Hongzhuang would choose to do this. It was really out of her expectations. Since the beginning of the battle, she had been suppressed by Bailey Hongzhuang. This was a great humiliation to her. Thinking of this, Daijimon's eyes were filled with ruthlessness. She wanted to see how much courage Bailey Hongzhuang had. Bang! A dull sound attracted everyone's attention. Everyone's eyes were focused on the two of them, afraid that they would miss the most exciting scene. I wonder who will gain the upper hand in this exchange? Daijimon's cultivation is higher and her spirit energy is stronger. I think Bailey Hongzhuang's injuries will be more serious. Sigh, Princess Consort Chun really doesn't need to put away her weapon. Otherwise, she would definitely win this competition. At this moment, no one doubted Bailey Hongzhuang's strength anymore. Even though she was facing off against Daijimon, who was at the middle stage of the mysterious Yuan stage, she still had the upper hand. Daijimon stared at Bailey Hongzhuang's face, which was just inches away from her. Her beautiful face was completely pale, and her pitch-black eyes were filled with disbelief. Daijimon was in a daze as her face turned pale. She felt a huge force coming from her chest, and her internal organs were burning with pain. She could not believe that she had actually lost this battle. Pooh! Daijimon spat out a mouthful of blood, and her aura instantly weakened. The audience looked carefully and realized that Bailey Hongzhuang's fist had landed on Daijimon's chest. Daijimon's right wrist was being held by Bailey Hongzhuang's left hand. The fist stopped a few centimeters away from Bailey Hongzhuang's chest. Bailey Hongzhuang was completely unharmed. Chapter 203. From the very beginning, Bailey Hongzhuang had already thought of a way to deal with Dai Man. It was just that no one present was able to see through it. Lu Jingquan's face was very ugly. Since yesterday when Bailey Hongzhuang proposed a life and death battle, he felt that something was wrong. But Dai Jiman simply didn't listen to his advice. Now it seems that Bailey Hongzhuang's fighting strength was not any worse than a mysterious Ian middle stage cultivator. Presumably, Bailey Hongzhuang was not far from breaking through to the middle stage of mysterious Ian. At this moment, he finally understood why Bailey Hongzhuang was able to receive an invitation from the Azure Water School. Aside from those abnormal people, who else would be able to fight above their level? Bailey Hongzhuang's mouth hooked up into a beautiful smile, but her eyes were cold. Die! As Bailey Hongzhuang's voice fell, her fist once again attacked Daijiman. Daijiman's pupils dilated as she looked at Bailey Hongzhuang in horror. From this fist, she felt a cold, killing intent. Bailey Hongzhuang really wanted to kill her. You dare! Dai Tianxiong shouted. The situation in front of him was beyond his expectations. Bailey Hongzhuang actually had such strength. But no matter what, he couldn't let Bailey Hongzhuang kill Jiman. Bailey Hongzhuang's phoenix eyes slightly raised as she looked at Dai Tianxiong's fierce face. Her eyes became even colder. She simply ignored Dai Tianxiong's words and ruthlessly punched Dai Jiman's vital point. Dai Tianxiong thought that after he shouted out, Bailey Hongzhuang would stop. He didn't expect that not only did Bailey Hongzhuang not stop, she actually attacked even faster. By the time Dai Tianxiong wanted to rush out to protect Daijiman, it was already too late. Bang! A loud sound rang out. Daijiman was directly sent flying by Bailey Hongzhuang's fist. She fell heavily on the ground, stirring up a cloud of dust. Daijiman looked at the white figure standing proudly on the high platform. This was the first time she felt regret. She couldn't believe that she would die at the hands of Bailey Hongzhuang. Pooh! Daijiman spat out a large mouthful of blood, dyeing the ground red. She could only feel the strength in her body slowly disappearing as if death was approaching her. Dai Tianxiong and Lu Jingquan immediately rushed to Daijiman's side, their faces filled with worry. Jiman, are you okay? Dai Tianxiong carried Daijiman and anxiously asked. Daijiman shook her head and said, Father, avenge me. In the next moment, Daijiman's neck to death died to death to die to die to die to die to die. Seeing that Daijiman was no longer breathing, Dai Tianxiong's face became extremely ugly. When he raised his head again, his pitch-black eyes were already dyed with a few strands of blood. You to kill, to kill to Hongziman. Dai Tianxiong's voice was filled with danger. Daijiman was his most beloved daughter. Now that she was killed in front of him, how could he endure this? Bailey Hongzhuang smiled mockingly. Since Daijiman stepped onto the life and death arena, it was naturally a life and death battle. Is this ending so surprising? I already gave you a chance, but you didn't want it. Now you're blaming me? Isn't this too laughable? Bailey Hongzhuang waved her sleeves. Her eyes were cold and emotionless. Her aura was even more domineering. Everyone nodded. Bailey Hongzhuang did give them a chance, but Dai Tianxiong and Daijiman didn't care. Now that Bailey Hongzhuang killed Daijiman, there was nothing wrong with that. Chapter 204. Bailey Hongzhuang raised her eyebrows. Now that Daijiman is dead, you say that I shouldn't have killed her. Let me ask you, if the person who was defeated was me, would you have asked Daijiman to show mercy? Dai Tianxiong's expression changed. He had never thought of this point. Bailey Hongzhuang's death had nothing to do with him. In short, Bailey Hongzhuang had killed Daijiman, and that was unforgivable. Looking at Dai Tianxiong's change in expression, the audience had already understood the situation. Before the battle, Daijiman had already declared that she would kill Bailey Hongzhuang. If the person who was defeated was Bailey Hongzhuang, this battle would have already ended. Dai Tianxiong would not have asked Daijiman to show mercy. Now, to say that Bailey Hongzhuang was not right, it was too laughable. If General Dai has nothing to say, then don't say anything. Bailey Hongzhuang's eyes flashed with killing intent. She raised her eyebrows and said arrogantly, "Since you have offended me, Bailey Hongzhuang, then you should have been prepared to pay the price." Her cold and arrogant voice revealed an unparalleled aura. Even if she was facing Dai Tianxiong, Bailey Hongzhuang was not afraid at all. "Bailey Hongzhuang, are you not afraid of my revenge?" Dai Tianxiong's face was extremely gloomy. He must kill Bailey Hongzhuang to avenge Jimon. "I, Bailey Hongzhuang, have never been a person who is afraid of trouble." Bailey Hongzhuang was not afraid, however. "Dai Tianxiong, if you dare to cause trouble for me again, then be prepared to have your whole family destroyed." Bailey Hongzhuang stared into Dai Tianxiong's eyes. "I will do what I say." Hiss. Everyone sucked in a breath of cold air. Bailey Hongzhuang and Dai Jimon had agreed to a life-and-death battle. Now, she even dared to threaten General Bailey. Looking at the pair of cold eyes that were like black holes, Dai Tianxiong was actually stunned by Bailey Hongzhuang for a moment. This kind of domineering aura wasn't just a momentary feeling of pleasure from her words. Instead, it was because she was truly confident. How was this possible? Dai Tianxiong couldn't believe it. How could a 15-year-old girl have such an aura? No longer paying attention to Dai Tianxiong and the others, Bailey Hongzhuang slowly walked down the high platform. Every step she took seemed to be walking on the tip of everyone's heart, but no one dared to make a sound as she walked further and further away under everyone's gaze. Looking at that proud white figure, the shock in everyone's hearts could not be calmed down for a long time. Princess Chen was so domineering. Even Dai Tianxiong was intimidated by his words. Dai Tianxiong's face was so gloomy that it could drip water. He wanted to get rid of Bailey Hongzhuang, but Bailey Hongzhuang and Dai Jimon had agreed to fight in the life-and-death arena first. If he were to make a move now, everyone would think that he was going back on his word. If word got out, his reputation as a great general would be ruined. As for revenge, he could only go back and think about it at length. This Bailey Hongzhuang, when did she become so powerful? Xianyuan Jing was speechless. Wasn't she even more powerful than Xianyuan Huan? Xianyuan Huan's expression was gloomy as he shook his head. "I don't know." Looking at Xianyuan Huan's disappointed expression, Xianyuan Jing directly shut his mouth. As a brother, he understood that Xianyuan Huan had really fallen in love with Bailey Hongzhuang. However, it was impossible for the two of them to be together now. "Trash!" Bailey Hongzhuang angrily shouted. He didn't think that Dai Jimon couldn't even beat Bailey Hongzhuang. Once again, a storm was set off in the Imperial City. Bailey Hongzhuang's battle was spread far and wide. Chapter 205. Chen Wangfei's fame quickly spread, and the young cultivators all admired Bailey Hongzhuang to the extreme. On the contrary, General Dai's residence was in a state of dismay. They had thought that they would win this battle without any surprises. They never thought that Dai Jimon would not only lose, but lose completely. The female lead that everyone was talking about was unusually calm. Defeating Dai Jimon was not something she was proud of. Returning to the room, Bailey Hongzhuang handed Baisher over to Xiao He and Xiao Bai to take care of. She began to cultivate as usual. She was about to go to the Azure Water School. From the school's reputation, she knew that there would be many strong cultivators there. She needed to quickly increase her strength. Night slowly fell and the imperial city was covered in a thin veil of night. It was quiet and peaceful. Bailey Hongzhuang, who was cultivating, suddenly opened her eyes. Her gaze focused on the roof. There was someone. "Master, someone is coming." Xiao Hei's dignified voice sounded at the same time. "They don't come with good intentions." Bailey Hongzhuang nodded slightly. To climb up to the roof in the middle of the night, who else could it be but an assassin? Could it be that Dai Tianxiong's speed was so fast that he had found an assassin to deal with her in such a short time? "Go out and take a look." Bailey Hongzhuang's face darkened as she spoke coldly. If it really was someone sent by Dai Tianxiong, then she could only say that Dai Tianxiong was not afraid of death. Xiao He and Xiao Bai jumped onto Bailey Hongzhuang's shoulder and followed Bailey Hongzhuang out of the room. Since you're here, just show yourself. Why hide and save yourself the trouble? The cold voice was indifferent and wanton. There was not the slightest bit of nervousness or apprehension from the appearance of the assassin. Xiao Ming, who was on the roof, revealed a surprised expression when he heard Bailey Hongzhuang's words. This woman's performance was truly out of the ordinary. Originally, when he found out that the target of the assassination was the Princess Consort, he had hesitated. However, the other party had given him a very generous price, and he could not refuse. As long as he kills Bailey Hongzhuang, he will leave the imperial city. The next moment, Xiao Ming jumped down from the roof and stood in front of Bailey Hongzhuang. Bailey Hongzhuang sized up the man in black and quickly determined his cultivation level, Mystic Ian late stage. Who sent you? Bailey Hongzhuang's beautiful face was covered with frost, and her voice was as cold as a thorn. Xiao Ming sneered. I'm only responsible for killing you. As for who sent me, I'm afraid you'll never know in this lifetime. Just as he finished speaking, Xiao Ming's attack had already arrived. This was the prince's mansion, which was heavily guarded. He had to end this quickly. Otherwise, when the others arrived, it would not be easy for him to leave. Ding! Bailey Hongzhuang quickly drew her blue ice sword and engaged Xiao Ming in battle. Ding ding ding! The sound of metal clashing could be heard incessantly. Xiao Ming's eyes were filled with shock. This woman's cultivation level was only at the Mystic Ian early stage, but she was actually able to contend against him? He could clearly sense that this woman's power and strength could not be compared to his. However, she had relied on her exquisite swordsmanship to persist in fighting him. How could a 15-year-old young girl possess such rich battle experience? Xiao Ming felt that it was inconceivable. However, this had happened right in front of him. He had no choice but to believe it. When the prince's mansion's guards heard the exchange of metal, they quickly rushed over and surrounded Bailey Hongzhuang and Xiao Ming. Princess Consort. The housekeeper was extremely anxious. He never thought that the other party would be so bold as to come to the prince's mansion to assassinate the Princess Consort. Chapter 206. What are all of you waiting for? Quickly capture this assassin. Xiao Ming's expression changed. Until now, he still did not understand how Bailey Hongzhuang had discovered him. It was this step that had ruined all of his plans. Bailey Hongzhuang looked at the housekeeper and guards not far away and raised her right hand. It's all right, I can handle it. Hearing this, the guard's movements faltered. Was the Princess Consort prepared to deal with the assassin herself? Xiao Ming was also panicking at this moment. He had not expected these guards to move so quickly, and he had not expected Bailey Hongzhuang to be able to fight with him for so long. Bailey Hongzhuang understood that with her current strength, she had to fight with all her might. Otherwise, there would be no outcome between her and Xiao Ming. She immediately took out a packet of poison powder and sprinkled it at Xiao Ming. Under these circumstances, there was no point in continuing the fight. She did not care about Xiao Ming, but the person behind Xiao Ming. Xiao Ming had not expected Bailey Hongzhuang to suddenly use poison. By the time he reacted, it was already too late to cover his mouth and nose. The energy in his body instantly dissipated, and he turned into a normal person. Bailey Hongzhuang pressed the tip of her sword against Xiao Ming's neck. Who sent you? Speak. Xiao Ming looked at Bailey Hongzhuang with a stubborn expression. I won't tell you. Even if you don't tell me, I have my own ways to make you talk. Bailey Hongzhuang's eyes were cold. As a doctor and a poison master, she was blessed by the heavens when it came to extorting confessions. Bailey Hongzhuang said to the housekeeper and the rest, It's all right, you can all leave. Don't spread today's matter. Yes. Everyone understood how powerful their Princess Consort was and immediately left. With the Princess Consort's ability, she was able to deal with this. Bailey Hongzhuang tied Xiao Ming up and brought him into the room. I'll give you one last chance to avoid physical pain. Speak or not. Give up, I won't talk. He admitted that he had failed this time, but he had been an assassin for many years, and not revealing the identity of his employer was a way to survive. Hearing Xiao Ming's reply, Bailey Hongzhuang was not surprised. She pinched Xiao Ming's chin and threw a pill into his mouth. What did you feed me? Xiao Ming asked in a panic. Something to make you tell the truth. Bailey Hongzhuang's voice was cold. Call me when you want to tell me. As soon as she finished speaking, Bailey Hongzhuang ignored Xiao Ming's shock and returned to her bed to cultivate. He was just an assassin. It was not worth her time. Xiao Ming only felt that Bailey Hongzhuang was deliberately mystifying things. At best, it was just poison. It was absolutely impossible for him to reveal the identity of the employer. However, not long after, Xiao Ming's expression changed. This was because waves of heart-wrenching pain came from his body, causing his face to distort. How could this be? Xiao Ming was shocked. What kind of pill was this? Why had he never heard of it before? Cold sweat trickled down Xiao Ming's forehead. The unbearable pain almost caused him to break down. Xiao He and Xiao Bai looked complacently at Xiao Ming. Their master's methods were not something an ordinary person could compare to. Ah! Xiao Ming could not help but cry out. The pain was getting more and more intense. It was as if 10,000 worms were gnawing at his heart. The pain was unbearable. It was worse than death. Bailey Hongzhuang's expression did not change as she continued to cultivate calmly. I'll talk. Xiao Ming's last bit of willpower completely collapsed under the pain. I'll talk, I'll talk. Chapter 207. I'll tell you everything. Xiao Ming fell to the ground. I beg you, let me off. I'll tell you everything you want to know. Bailey Hongzhuang opened her eyes, her gaze cold and emotionless. Speak. The person who sent me is the general's wife, Su Wanjing. Hearing this, Bailey Hongzhuang raised her brows. She had thought that it was the general's residence who had sent someone to assassinate her. She didn't expect it to be Su Wanjing. Su Wanjing was really good at playing tricks. She had wanted to cut off all ties with the general's residence, but it looked like someone else didn't think so. Since you're no longer of any value, then die. Bailey Hongzhuang's voice was cold as the long sword sank into Xiao Ming's body. Those who killed would be killed by others. Since Xiao Ming had taken the money to take her life, he should have been prepared to be killed by her. This world was especially fair on this point. Master, this Su Wanjing is really troublesome. Xiao He couldn't hide the anger on her face. Su Wanjing was really stubborn. Master had already let her off, but she still refused to give up. Bailey Hongzhuang narrowed her eyes. It looked like she hadn't taught her enough of a lesson. She had never had a good impression of Su Wanjing. Ever since they were young, Su Wanjing had always put on a kind face. In reality, she and Qin Yeyun had ended up in such a state in the general's residence because of this woman who looked gentle on the surface but was vicious on the inside. Master, let me and Xiao He settle this matter. Ever since we came here, we haven't shown our skills, Xiao Bai said. Hearing this, Bailey Hongzhuang fell silent for a moment. She didn't want to go to this extent, but if she didn't do this, Su Wanjing would take advantage of her. Since that was the case, then she would settle it all together. Bailey Hongzhuang nodded slightly. Then I'll leave it to you. Seeing that Bailey Hongzhuang had agreed, Xiao He and Xiao Bai looked excited and quickly left the general's residence. Su Wanjing was pacing back and forth in the room, looking out the door from time to time. She had hired an assassin at the late stage of Mystic Ian realm. It shouldn't be a problem for him to deal with Bailey Hongzhuang. Only by killing Bailey Hongzhuang would she be able to vent her anger. Back then, she had angered Qin Yeyun to death. Now, Qin Yeyun's daughter had actually dared to kill her daughter. How could she swallow this resentment? Damn Qin Yeyun, damn Bailey Hongzhuang, both of them should have died long ago. However, the longer she waited, the more unsettled Su Wanjing's heart became. Why isn't he here yet? Are you waiting for an assassin? A voice suddenly broke the silence in the room. Su Wanjing was startled and looked around in horror, but she didn't see a single person. Damn woman, how dare you lay a hand on our master? Then, under Su Wanjing's shocked gaze, two huge furballs, one black and one white, appeared in front of her. Under such circumstances, Su Wanjing didn't have the energy to figure out what these two fellows were. She said blankly, "You were sent by Bailey Hongzhuang? Bailey Hongzhuang isn't dead? You think you can kill Master with just the assassins you sent? You must be dreaming," Xiao He said coldly. "Why waste your breath on this old woman? Just kill her,